I just wake up in the morning and I yell a lot, even though it's way too early. It's fun though. Wake up, wake up, wake up! Wake up, wake up, wake up! I have changed locations on you guys. You don't even know where I am. You think you know, but you have no idea. Broadcasting live from an undisclosed location. It is the show, and it's time to get up way too early with Garage Gym Life. Appreciate everybody who's here in the live chat. See some people already in here. What's up to everybody? Ego Lift Daily. Hey, is you the Ego Lift Daily is the only person I'm saying good evening to, because it's nighttime for you, my man. I appreciate you staying up late with us. Everybody else, appreciate you getting up early with me as usual. No Fake Channel checking in. My man Carlos, what's up, man? Carlos, I hear you doing COD live streams. Okay, behind my back. All right, Jared Martin was the first in the building. What's up, man? All right, I'm gonna be coming back and jumping into the live chat with you guys again. But right now, we got to jump on it and hit the ground running, because we got a guest backstage, and I do not want to waste his time because we only have a very short time with him. My guy, Shredded Dad Garage Gym, is backstage. Jose is here, and he is waiting. I got questions, he's got answers, so we're gonna jump into that. So since I went ahead and I started my rundown, let me go ahead and let you guys know what is going to be happening today. First off, we got Jose Guevara, and he's joining the show, as I said, from Shredded Dad Garage Gym. Then we're going to have, right after that, we'll have news and other things, including Recliner of Rage. And then in the third hour, we're going to have Luis Patino, the Garage Gym coach, is going to be joining us. And then in the final hour, we're going to have Marissa Roy Chong, and she is from Permanent Change Coaching. She's coming back. She's got some tips for those of you who work from home, especially since we now have a change of seasons, and a lot of people are affected. Like, their mood can be affected. You're going to be indoors a whole lot more. So I know a lot of you guys work from home. She's got some good tips for that. So you guys make sure that you hang out, stay tuned to all of that. Stay active in the chat. If you have questions for any of my guests, go ahead and throw them in there as usual, and I'll make sure that we ask those questions. All right. But let's go ahead and bring my guy Jose on right now. He's the first guest of the day, so he gets treated like the first guest does, like royalty. Hey, what's up, my man?
Ryan, how you doing, brother?
What's up, man? I appreciate you carving out some time for me. I know you're a busy dude. So let's just jump right into it. For anyone who's not familiar with who you are, just give him your elevator speech. Who are you and what do you do?
Well, my name's Jose. By trade, I'm a chiropractor, so I work in the health industry, and I love the Garage Gym. I love hanging out here. So easy to get access to. I just open my door and I'm in here, and I basically do review videos. I do a lot of funny stuff on IG, just silly stuff that I love. And that's pretty much it. I started my Garage Gym about 7 years ago, and it keeps growing. I got to build another one.
Oh, okay. Hey, look, I completely understand. Garage gyms, well, home gyms in general are never done. Everybody says, yeah, I finally got it done. I'm like, why are you lying to yourself? Why are you lying to yourself? It's never done. So everybody is saying what's up to you. You got the Kurt Locker saying what's happening, bro.
What's happening?
We got Carlos saying good morning, Jose. All right. All you guys make sure that you are headed to Shredded Dad Garage Gym. Join the over 40,000 subscribers he's got on there. He's obviously putting out good content here on YouTube. So you guys make sure you subscribe to him. Jose, you started your channel to help people get in shape by setting up home gyms, but the key for you to finally get in shape was intermittent fasting, I believe you said. So tell me, though, what did your workouts look like before you discovered intermittent fasting?
So my workouts were a lot of weight training, basically calisthenics. Every now and then I would go to the hills and do some hill sprints. And, I loved it. I still do a lot of the same things, but when I started doing the intermittent fasting, I learned also how to track calories and macros. And that's when I started seeing the best results. So Yeah, the gym helps, but nutrition, if you're looking to get lean and get in an aesthetically visible, good shape, then nutrition, I think, is the key.
Yeah, it's like and the thing is, since you're a chiropractor, yes, you're in the medical field, but I know that people ask you stuff all of the time that's kind of outside the scope of your practice.
Right.
So I'm sure that it actually helps you though, because you do train, you do have experience with changing your body composition. So you can at least tell them experientially what's worked, for you.
Right.
But do you find though that sometimes you meet people and they're like, well, I don't know, let's say my back is hurting and my sciatica is acting up, and you're like, the key for you probably is to lose some weight. You know, do you ever encounter that? Because I mean, this is the United States, so we tend to be an out of shape population. So do you ever have to deal with that?
Yeah, all the time, okay. I try not to be so, blunt about it and tell them, yeah, you're fat. I don't want to say that, but yeah,
So
it's
you
one.
just think it.
Yeah, I don't say it out loud, but yeah, it's one aspect. Yeah, the weight loss is going to help if you're overweight. So definitely, fat loss, weight loss helps with back pain.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, because I just know there's other things too. I know this wasn't on a rundown, but it's just one of the things that popped in my head is like I know that whenever I put on a lot of weight, you also have to deal with like the swelling, because you're retaining fluid. That also leads to discomfort. I have a bad knee because of my time in the Marine Corps. And so anytime I weigh too much, I have a range where it doesn't bother me. But anytime I get over that range, my knee starts to bother me, right?
Feel it.
And the quickest way to make it feel better is just to lose weight. I can do all the other soft tissue stuff, all these other modalities. I was keeping Bob and Brad in business, right? But simply just losing weight was like, oh, okay, I feel better. Like so as little as 10 pounds, you're like, oh man, I feel like new money.
That is,
So,
yeah.
yeah, that's why that jumped in my head. But anyway, you got into intermittent fasting in 2017. So tell me, how your home gym specifically helped you stay on track since then, and then you do a lot of product reviews. So I want to also touch on which products you've reviewed that have helped you with the process of staying in shape.
Yes, for me, the convenience of the home gym is the best thing about it. Just because I have a family, I have kids, so I get up at 4 in the morning every day, and I just get to work, get to the gym. I don't have to drive anywhere, so just having that gym available anytime that I want makes a big difference. So there's really no excuse. If you have a home gym, you have everything available that's right there, a door away from you. So that's made the biggest difference for me. Just having the convenience of having the home gym right there when I wake up at 4 in the morning, I'm ready to go.
Okay. Now, have you ever had issues with I'm drawing a blank on the word, but like um I guess compliance and consistency. Like, okay, so, because I mean, no matter, you kind of have a little bit more pressure on you because you can't call your channel Shredded Dad and not be shredded, right? But there are days when you just like, man, I don't feel like going down there, you
Oh
know.
yeah,
Uh,
it
then again,
happens.
you're in Georgia like I am, so it's not as cold. But I mean, we get ice storms occasionally. You're like, man, I just don't feel like doing this. What do you do to stay on track? Like, how do you keep yourself focused on the main thing being the main thing?
I guess you got to commit yourself and have the drive to do it. For me, let's say if I have a day where I don't feel like lifting, I at least have to do something. So I'll get on the treadmill, I'll get on the bike, I'll get some steps in. Just something to keep me consistent. Whether it's just moving a little bit more than I would if I was just sitting at a desk all day, or I mean, just forcing myself to do it. Sometimes I don't want to do it, but if I start doing some reps, doing some exercise, then I get in the flow and things get going.
All right. So we already got some comments in here, and I saw the first one. My guy, Coach Carp, said you're the king of IG Reels. So there you go. Wear your trophy proudly.
Yeah.
Um, the Kurt Locker says tracking intake is key for him. Actually, let me go do that. He said tracking intake is key for me when I'm controlling my weight and energy for competition prep. I think that's a big deal because you have people who, especially strength athletes, and sometimes they confuse leverage changes with being stronger, right? So you're like,
Right.
okay, like a very common one especially like with powerlifters, is to get bigger because you want to bench press. You want to increase your bench press. Well, some of that is, the bar is not traveling as far because you occupy more space. So it's so that you have the leverage, but then you also have the squish factor, like when you're squatting. So as gross as it sounds, it helps you come, get out of the hole. It gives you a little bit of rebound.
Right.
So I definitely can see that, because then you're like, okay, well, now I got to make my weight class though. So now you got to go through a whole bunch of changes. Looks like you got a new follower on Instagram and you got a new sub on YouTube. So there you go, my guy Carlos. There we
Thank you,
go.
Carlos.
All right, my man Matt chiming in from the UK. What's up, Matt? He's getting ready for competition. All right, so let's see here. Make sure. Okay, I think we're caught up. So if somebody already has a home gym, because I know, like for me, I actually first noticed you when I believe you were doing the freak athlete stuff. All right.
Right.
And so I first noticed you because I was actually prepping to interview Victoria Dorsano.
Mm-hmm.
And so, she's doing stuff with the freak athlete products.
Yep.
And then because I started researching that, you popped up. And so I was like, okay. I said, oh, look at this. He's doing unique things. I see you with a kettlebell at what looked like Home Depot or something like that. Yeah. I've seen a lot of stuff.
I remember that one. That's an old one.
Well, see, so here's the thing. So whenever I tell people, like, all right, I'm going to interview you, and I say, hey, man, I need at least 7 days, it's because I deep diving into you, right? Like,
Right.
pause. I deep dive into your like everything you have going on, everything you posted, because I want to be able to ask questions that kind of make sense. So that being said, I noticed that you tend to focus on a lot of bang for the buck items for the home gym. So since we are talking about staying in shape and staying, maintaining or getting in shape, what are some bang for the buck items that you would recommend for somebody to add to their home gym just to help them, maybe jumpstart their what they got going on this holiday season?
Yeah, I think one of the items that I really like right now is the Power Block adjustable kettlebell. Just because you can do so much with the adjustable kettlebells. You can train your explosiveness, you can train strength, you can get a good cardio workout, and it doesn't take up a lot of space. So bang for the buck, that's a great product.
All right. I noticed that you've done some weight vest stuff. How do you feel about weight vests for
Those are good.
cardio and conditioning?
Yeah, definitely good too. I love them. I have tried several, but the one that I like the most is from Brute Force Training. That's what they're called, Brute Force
Okay.
Training. Really cool, fits really well. Doesn't compress your chest when you're jumping around or anything like that. Doesn't move much. So I really like them. Yeah, for calisthenics, even calisthenics, walking around, running, they're really good.
What about this? Is something I've always wondered about is like the ab wheel, because when I started training, everything was like, oh, protect your lower back. Anything that anything that causes discomfort in your lower back, you need to completely avoid. And then things kind of moved along. So it's like now it's like, okay, well, you need to bulletproof your lower back by exposing it to um, controlled doses or micro doses of stress, right? So like deadlifting, for example. When I started, everybody was told, don't deadlift, you'll die. All right. Now it's like, okay, well, yeah, you should obviously deadlift because you're gonna pick up stuff. You might as well practice it, right? And the thing that popped in my head was the ab wheel, because when you first start using it, it's very easy for you to have horrible form, or your back you get like the banana back and all that stuff, right? So how do you feel about the ab wheel as a tool in general?
I think it's a good tool. I would do something different for core before I start doing that. Maybe something like hanging leg raises. But if you have the form for it, as long as you follow good technique, I think you can get a good workout from it. I wouldn't say it's for beginners, just because, like you said, you have that banana shape in the low back that can happen and can hurt you. But if you're experienced and you have the good technique, the good form for it, I think it's a good exercise.
All right. I've seen a few different regressions for it, but they all require like So I've seen one with resistance bands. The one that I like is Ross Inmate. He's a boxing coach. Shout out to Ross. He's Ross Training on Instagram and on YouTube. He's
Yeah,
got a
he's
thing where, yeah, have you seen what I'm talking about? Where he takes the board or what? Yeah, so he's got like this board. It's basically just a board you can get from home. He's always like low tech, high effect, right? So it's like
yeah,
this board you can get from whatever home supply store. And he says you start out with it angled up, and then you just lower the angle until you get to the point where you're able to just go out straight. And then, okay, not only do you train yourself to do it from the standing from the get-go, but you also can use progressive resistance or progressive
yeah,
resistance instead of just going full speed ahead. Because the thing that I think about the ab wheel when I was using it when I was fighting, we'd always do it on our knees. Well, you can do a bunch of them if you're on your knees and you
right.
have any sort of abdominal strength. But I haven't seen, and this is a question for you, is like I haven't seen like the carryover from doing it on your knees to doing it on from the standing. And doing it from the standing is where I see the most carryover for people who want to use it to support their core for other athletic pursuits. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
what do you
yeah.
think about that?
That's a very difficult move for sure. If you're starting from your feet and then you're doing the ab wheel, um, I've never tried it that way. To be honest, I usually do it on my knees, so I wouldn't be able to tell you if it's how it feels, but I know it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, it's like it's like you can go out just a little bit and immediately you feel your back start to
Yeah,
look like a bent back paperclip.
yeah, and I
Um,
like that progression idea though. It's kind of like what they're doing now with the Nordic benches. You know, like the freak athlete, they start
yeah.
up at 45 degrees and then you start incrementally going down until you can get stronger for the next level down. So similar to that.
How do you like? I mean, obviously, yeah, I've seen your videos and stuff, but talk to me about those Nordic benches. What would you say is like the biggest thing that you? What's the biggest reason you recommend them to people?
Well, if you're into the Nordic curls, if they become popular from the knees over toes guy. So it's hard to do a Nordic curl from the beginning. I tried it myself and I actually got hurt. I hurt my hamstring and my calf, and it put me out for a few weeks. So I love what they're doing with the increments just because it keeps it safe. It teaches you how to do it correctly, especially when they're done with full range of motion. There's some benches out there that do partial ranges of motion. I don't like those. I like the one that's completely flat, where you go flat, full range of motion. But I think it teaches people to have patience, go at it slowly through increments, and it helps you to build strength so that you can move on to the next level.
Okay, so we have another question for you from the chat. And so we had a big so Kurt, here's the thing, Kurt, you brought this up and Kurt's leaving, right? So Kurt's gonna catch us on replay because he's about to catch a flight. So travel safe, Kurt. But anyway, so we had a debate where Kurt was saying that in his opinion, folding racks are a waste of time, right? They're unnecessary purchase because he said most people that he knows never fold their racks up, right? So you're a fold up
Yep.
rack guy. So do you actually fold your rack or do you leave it down all the time?
I do fold it up. Not always, but I do fold it up, especially if I'm trying to shoot something that takes up a lot of space here in the garage. And that clears up some space. And actually, when I first got the rack, I was able to park my car in here. And as the channel started growing, as the social started growing, I started getting more equipment, and the car is now outside. So I do fold it up. It's just occasionally.
I got you. So I like in Kurt's defense now, some of it is his perspective because his channel, his focus tends to be strongman competitors. So
Right.
a lot of their implements and the things that they do require the rack to be down all the time. So I can see if, to be honest with you, I could see telling one of them, hey, don't even bother getting a folder rack because you're going to have it down all the time. You just, get
Right.
something else, right? So I do understand that, but we had like let me just say the debate went on much longer than I anticipated. We were like debating whether they should even exist or not. I was like, yeah, I feel like there are people, PRX is doing okay. I feel like there are people who are buying these because they need them. So anyway, how you doing on time, by the way? We're at 6:20.
I'm good. I got about 20, 25 more minutes. So no
25
rush.
more.
Yeah, no
Okay,
rush.
25 more minutes. All right, cool. All right, so let's go to our next comment here. I fail. I try every time you post here, man. I try and I fail to say your last name. So Dr. David, he says, I love that about building patience. I've seen my clients stay patient, and now months later, they've gone from 45-degree Nordics to about 15 to 20 degrees, which is awesome with the tib bar guy Nordic bench.
Yeah.
I agree with that, man, because with like glute ham raises, which is what I'm used to calling them, right?
Yeah.
So you've got the glute ham raise. I know that people, when I first started doing it, I couldn't do it at all without the resistance bands holding me to give me that, help me bounce off of that. I mean, I
Right.
have tried it with like, I have like a Swiss ball in front of me, and you go down, you
Like,
kind of
oh,
bounce
wow.
off of that. Yeah, exactly. So you're not like supporting all the weight the entire time.
Right.
Of course, I've done like the push-up method where you go down and you push yourself up to kind of get through the sticking point. But I think it really is a like, if you don't have to go through all that, and you shouldn't. And also, what I like about the bench you guys are describing is you can track your progress.
Yeah.
Because let's say you're doing the push-up method, you're like, well, okay, did I push off with less force this time than I did last time? Am I making progress? How do you track that? But with the bench, you
Right.
can automatically say, okay, I know I was here before, now I'm here. Okay, we're obviously making progress, and I'm a huge believer in that. So Matt, don't you start this debate again. He said, I probably display my rack in the gym. It ain't getting folded up. You're just a troublemaker. That you can't trust those people from England, man. I'm telling you, they always got the weird measurements. You don't know what
Oh,
they're
yeah.
saying half the time. I don't know. Let's go back to home gym stuff. This is a budget home gym item question. Tell me an item that goes under the radar that, whether somebody should ask for it on their holiday, their Christmas list, or they should just say, hey, look, I'm keeping an eye out for this for Black Friday. Something that you reviewed, let's say, to narrow it down, let's say within the past year, something that you reviewed that you think people need to pay more attention to, but for whatever reason they aren't. What would you
Yeah,
say that
I
would
would
be?
go with gymnastics rings. They're very under the radar just because they are. I don't know why. I'll show you right now. They're mine right there. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, they will humble you for sure. Gymnastics rings, they're not very expensive. You just have to have somewhere to hang them, of course. But you can go out to a tree and do that if you need to. So you'll need a pull-up bar. So a pull-up bar is another thing that's very budget friendly. Doorway pull-up bar, you can do that. Gymnastics rings, jump rope would be
How do you
another one.
feel about those tension? I'm sorry for cutting you off, but how do you
Yeah.
feel about those tension pull-up bars? You know what I'm talking about? And the ones that don't hook on the door, but like that. Yeah. How do you
Yeah,
feel about those?
yeah, I actually have one. They're I think they're good as long as your door frame is strong enough because you
Right.
can definitely damage your door frame. They're very strong.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they're good. As long as you install them correctly, you should be fine. But
So
yeah,
yeah, I had
go ahead.
no, I was saying that we had one. Oh, well, we have one, and we were using it, and I noticed that if you crank it out too far, it's obviously spreading, right?
Right.
And it was actually spreading. This was my previous power rack. It was spreading the rack out. So
Yeah.
basically, you know what I mean? If you don't think about that, it's like if you put it even in a doorway, it's actually spreading it. And you're gonna, at some point, if you torque it out too far, you're gonna, everything's got a tensile strength.
Right.
And so next thing you know, you're on the floor looking up, wondering what just happened. So and you got to go pay for a new door frame. So
Right.
yeah, I get that. But you were talking about something before I asked you about the doorway
Yeah,
pull-up
I would
bars.
say gymnastics rings. You can do a lot. I actually did a program. I followed a program a couple of years back, gymnastics rings, and it was very humbling to begin with. I mean, just the dips you can do, pull-ups. Obviously, you can do pelican curls. Have you ever done those?
No. What is a pelican curl?
So a pelican curl, it's almost like, let me show you real quick here. So you're hanging on
All
to
right.
the rings here, and then you're leaning forward and doing a bicep curl. So it's almost like an incline curl, but you're doing it
Oh,
with,
I do what you're talking about.
yeah, very
Okay, yeah,
difficult exercise. And of course,
okay,
I mean, that's mainly going to be for the upper body, the gymnastics rings.
right.
But I mean, you can grab a jump rope that's very budget friendly. That'll get you in good shape, cardio. I mean, like you were talking about boxing earlier.
Yeah.
And I would say going back to the weight vest, that's another, good investment. That's not very expensive either. So those three
Okay.
things I think are good, a good start for people that are on a budget.
All right. So here we go. Hey, Matt, at least you're self-aware. He said you could trust the English to cause trouble. All right. All right. You know what? I'll ask you, Jose. So Carp said you can see what kind of mood these guys are in today.
Yeah.
It's another hot topic. Are those machines called GHRs or GHDs? I think so. I think it's like a square rectangle thing, right? Where all rectangles are squares, but not all squares are rectangles. And I think that's what I think all of those are glute ham developers, but maybe not all of them are glute ham raises. That's the
Right.
best I got. What do you think, Jose?
I agree. I agree. Glute ham developers, the glute ham raise, would that be one that's more elevated, or I don't know. I don't know what the because I've seen people do those where they actually lower their body more than and then use more of their glutes to come up.
Right. So I think that's what the glute ham raise is. Otherwise, you're doing almost a hyperextension.
Right.
And then you got the Nordic curl, which also, it's more, I would say it's more hamstring, but it also still has some glute effect. So
Right.
you could do a Nordic curl on a glute ham developer, but it's not a glute ham raise when you're doing it. It's a Nordic curl.
Right.
There you go. See that you try to cause trouble, Cart, but it led to an educational moment. All right, I'm gonna give it a shot. Dr. David Lazarik says GHD machine to perform GHR. That's the best I could. That's the best I could do, man. I hate saying people's names incorrectly. I'm just gonna call you David. Actually, he says. He says the GHR uses less lever arm and it makes them easier than a Nordic curl.
Yeah,
But
they
here's
are
the
easy.
other thing too about it, because with a GHR, so I have like the one of the first home glute ham developers, right? It's called the home glute ham raise. Actually, it started out as the compact glute ham raise. Brian Schwab made it, and it's on the floor, so you're technically not doing the full movement, right?
Right.
So it's technically a Nordic curl, right? So for glute ham raise, I think you're going all the way down. You can actually use a little bit of momentum. You know what I mean? Um, I wouldn't use a ton of it because then it'll be exciting for you, but you can use a little bit more momentum. So yes, I do agree that a Nordic curl is actually more difficult because you're not gonna do that and slam down into the into the floor with a Nordic curl. Well,
Right.
you won't do it twice. Yeah. So let's scroll. All right. So all right, Jared wants to know, speaking about gymnastics rings, have any experience with the AbMat false grips for gymnastics rings?
No, I have not used them, but they look like they're good for grip. Yeah, to
Okay.
help you grip the rings.
They look like something that I saw on Shark Tank a few years ago. Like, like it just goes over it just covers your palm, whatever. I forgot what it was called, but
I
they
think,
look something like that.
yeah,
Yeah. And then Carp said mag pins are something he's come to appreciate, especially since some quality budget options have come out. Yeah, I
yep,
like that. I agree.
yeah,
Mag pin, because they just kind of like make everything look a little bit better, a little bit more upscale, a little beefier. I do like
yep.
those. Let's see. So now Matt says, all I hear for people wanting to do glue work is people trying to dodge doing squats. Says, don't skip squats, people. I promise. Look, I squatted yesterday. Okay. So I'm in the clear for another 7 days. All right. Now let's go the other direction. Name something that, in your opinion, maybe something you had high hopes for. I always like hearing about people's broken dreams. So you had high hopes for it, and it turned out to be a complete waste of money. You're like, why did I? And here's the thing about home gym equipment: when it's a waste of money, you usually can't get rid of it. So now you got to stare at it, unless you
Right.
like take it to the Goodwill and kind of like just drop it off over there and hope they take it.
Yeah.
All right. So, what was the biggest waste of money in terms of home gym equipment for you?
For me, it would be battle ropes, just because I rarely use them. I know they're great for conditioning, but I rarely use them. And then they're just bulky, difficult to store. And I would rather use the inertia wave versus a battle rope. And so I was actually able to sell mine, so I didn't have that problem.
Well, battle ropes tend to be fairly popular. So, yeah, people will pick them up, especially. I still remember every time somebody brings up battle ropes, I think of that commercial where like the guy, like the guy's just doing like the thing, or whatever. I just remember, and then I think of like Thor in Thor: Love and Thunder doing battle ropes, and it just it ruined it for me. Um, since you're a chiropractor, what do you think of products like the teeter hang-ups and other inversion therapy products? I know everybody doesn't necessarily like gravity boots, right?
Right.
I love gravity boots personally, but I know everybody's not ready for that. So what do you think though of like just the is it the teeter hang up? It's like the table, the teeter
Yeah.
inversion table, whatever it's called. What do you think of that stuff?
I think they're good. I actually had one a long time ago because I hurt my back. And especially if you're in a home gym environment where you're squatting a lot, you're putting a lot of pressure on your spine. I think they're good for decompression of the spine. And the inversion table I think is a better start for somebody that's just going to start, experimenting with them, just because you can also do incremental levels. So just like we were talking about the freak athlete or any Nordic bench, you can start flat and then slowly invert yourself down, versus the teeter hang-ups where you have to completely be upside down. And it's harder to get into a pull-up bar in that position with the teeter hang-ups, or even
Right.
trying to get off of that.
That's actually the biggest skill. It's like getting back down. But it was actually easier for me to get down with the gravity boots than it was with the inversion table. So I had a chiropractor who had me get on it, and before he's like, okay, I want you to do this while you wait, and then after that he put me on the machine, the stem machine, and then after that, then he treated me because he's like, we got to like. At the time, I was like competing heavily in powerlifting, so everything was all knotted up, right?
Right.
So he's like, we're gonna go. He's like, you ain't wearing me out. We're gonna put you on like a process to kind of like graduate, whatever. Anyway, I could not get down at first from that inversion table, man. I was just hanging out. I said, well, how did this work? How do I? And I'm like this. And of course, nobody came to help me. Yeah, like nobody walked by. I'm just like. And I'm just kind of like, I'm just there. Like,
Nope,
I was like,
turtle.
and I didn't want to like yell for help because I was embarrassed. But I was like, so I'm like, gotta. Anyway, finally, eventually, I built up enough momentum to get down. But I was like, this was almost a problem. All right, but the gravity boots, I don't have any issues. I've never had any issues getting down. David says my battle ropes have been sitting on the side for years. So I use them once a year. So have you used them already for this year, or is that like coming up? Because I want you to make a big deal about it. Today's the day, people. Make a video, make a big deal. Today's battle rope day. Make t-shirts, everything. Make people come watch it. There you go. Matt says my biggest waste of money was an ab machine. So I used it for 6 months. Now it's just sat against the wall for the last 5 years. That's big though, because Matt's gym, home gym, is in a shed. In his back garden. I say he's in the UK, and so space is at a premium. So for me, that's the biggest thing when you have something in a home gym that you don't necessarily use. Now it's just there, it's taking up space that you could use for something else.
Right.
Even if okay, I do stuff on the floor sometimes, crawls or whatever. Well, I need space to crawl. So I'm always like, my wife is always like, don't get rid of it. If she goes out of town, she's like, don't get rid of anything till I get back, because I'm always trying to like just get rid of stuff. Let's see. Matt says I got deadlifts tonight, but I wear the battle rope like a chain later. He said I use it for sled and vehicle pulls. I support you in that. You go right ahead and do it. By the way, since you brought that, you just reminded me this. Don't forget that we do have that strongman competition tomorrow. We're gonna be live streaming, so all of you guys make sure that you jump back in here into the channel. All you guys who are into strongman, make sure you guys come check it out. We'll have it. We'll be getting started at 9 a.m. Central Time. So
Where's that
that'll
going
be
to
good.
be at?
Arkansas.
Arkansas. Okay.
Yeah, it's in Arkansas. It's a log press. Well, it's a press and deadlift competition, but using strongman implements. So it'll be a good time.
Nice.
And then there's like a truck pull. I think they're pulling a fire truck or something like that. So yeah, it's gonna be a good time. So now that I just told you what I have coming up tomorrow, what do you have coming up that we should kind of be on the lookout for?
More IG
Any new
reels.
reviews? More reels? Okay.
I have a review coming up for the Power Block Power Bench 2.0. I did a reel about it. Yeah, it's basically an incline bench that you can insert stuff into the frame, such as a dip bar, ab attachment, pull-up bar. So it's like an all-in-one bench, very similar to the Iron Master bench.
And you said the reel is on Instagram?
I did a reel. Yeah, I put up a reel on there not too long ago, maybe last week, I believe.
Okay. Everybody, you guys can check that out. If you're listening to the audio version on Podbean of this, go ahead and go check out at Dad Shredded on Instagram, and you'll be able to check out that reel and all of his awesome and funny home gym content. You can check that out. And then also, I want you to follow on YouTube at Shredded Dad on YouTube. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to him on there. You'll be able to see all of his the full length videos of his reviews and things like that. So I just gave out that information, but do you ever have like people reach out to you on either your Facebook page or your Instagram or your YouTube asking for like more, I don't know, like I guess like mobility stuff? Since you're a chiropractor, I would say that probably that'd be the kind of stuff that they would ask you. You ever get people asking you about mobility stuff?
Not a lot. I wouldn't say a lot. No, mainly is just
people just don't know that you're a chiropractor.
Right, exactly. I don't put it out there. I don't put it out there. I just I just started the home gym stuff. With that being something completely different. Right. I actually do have a channel that I started for that, and that one grew up a lot, but I haven't kept up with it anymore. It's still there. The information is still good. Just it's evergreen information, but it's not something I constantly work on. I'm more working on the home gym stuff. It's just more.
What kind of stuff is on there? Like, for example,
exercises.
Is it like Kelly Starrett's channel? Like
kind of similar, exercises, stretches, talking about different conditions and what you can do at home to make them better. So stuff like that. Yeah. It's very informative. It actually grew a lot. It's got over 170,000 subs right now, but I don't keep up.
Nice.
I don't keep up with it too much. I haven't put up anything in there in maybe 4 years or so.
I know like the chiropractic channels tend to be popular because especially if they are popping people's backs on camera. Did you do any of that on there?
I did maybe one or two. You have to get consent from the person, so it's not something that we want to put out there. But yeah, a lot of videos get popular from that.
Oh yeah, because people want to hear the pops. Actually, it's not really hearing the pops for me. It's seeing like what someone has. Yeah, but sometimes it's like seeing what people will let people do to them. And I'm like, I can't believe you agree to this. So like I've seen like some Asian chiropractic videos. Those are wild. Like, where like they're basically like jumping on your back and stuff. And I'm just like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I've seen them.
Yeah, I'm just like, this is it. Like when you see that, do you cringe? Like, do you immediately like feel like you're gonna get sued just for watching?
Yeah, I actually have friends send me videos sometimes. Is this what you do? Is that what they're asking me? They're asking me that. Is that what you do?
This what you do at work?
Right.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I'm always like, man, this is crazy. Oh well, shoot. I mean, you don't need any more subs, but I'm happy to link that channel. Do you have a link to it anywhere, or what is it called?
It's just it's my name, Dr. Jose Guevara. That's the channel.
Okay. Yeah, I'll put it on there. I'll so for anyone who's listening or who's watching the replay, I will have the link to that channel as well in the description for this video, so you guys can go check out Jose. With the health tips and the chiropractic care tips. Because I mean, the thing is, and I know we didn't really plan on talking about this, but the thing for me is that training in a home gym, like doing the lifting, is only one leg of the tripod, right?
Yeah.
You also have, obviously, you have to have the nutrition, but then also recovery, because you basically, it's not what you can do, it's what you can recover from, right?
Exactly.
Because for a while there, I remember, I'm old enough to remember, like, when people used to like take pride in how messed up their body was after a training session. Like, oh, I couldn't walk for 6 days. And I'm like, so you're basically functionally useless for most of the week.
Right.
Right? You're functionally useless to your family for most of the week. Right? There's like that one day that we can get you to do any dang thing. Rest of the time, you're just a non-factor. But then it's like, okay, but if you look at athletes, they, even though they train hard, especially like, it's football season right now. So, they train hard, but they don't do anything to themselves that will inhibit them from still being able to perform. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
They spend a ton of money on recovery, all those pro athletes.
oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Because so to me, I'm always like, okay, so going back to the leg day thing, right? I'm like, all right, so you get to the point where you can't even walk up and down the stairs. Picture yourself out in the yard, and you know how kids are. The ball goes bouncing into the street. The kid goes running into the street, and now you got to hobble out there to try to catch your kid before they get hit by a car.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by, like, you don't do anything to yourself that's going to make you useless to your family and your community, right?
Yeah.
So for me, the recovery part of things is huge, because the other thing about it too is, if you impair your normal function and then you still try to do a thing, your body's going to compensate, which is potentially going to lead to some sort of injury or whatever.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up, man, like I said, you mentioned that you've got the review of the Power Block bench coming out. How far in advance do you plan your IG reels, and do you marry your IG reels to your YouTube content, or is it kind of just like whatever you're thinking about at the time, or just in the moment stuff?
Yeah. Sometimes the reels just happen. I just get an idea and go with it. And sometimes they take a little bit longer, depending on the piece of equipment that I'm reviewing or I'm trying to show on the IG reels. If it's a piece of equipment that has a lot of stuff that you can do with, then it takes a little bit longer. But a lot of the times, maybe I'm in a couple of days, I can pull up a reel and get it done and get it out there. And yes, I do upload the reels to YouTube Shorts.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I do that. So I do it, but I do like the other direction, where I'll do like the YouTube short, and then if it looks interesting enough, that I might post it on Instagram as well. I really don't pay I don't pay enough attention to my Instagram, because I'm just trying to grow the YouTube channel. But yeah, now you got me inspired. I'm like, I got stuff I could probably pull out that nobody has seen, and I could just throw it up on Instagram. Well, all right, man. I appreciate you being. Oh, we got one more comment. David says the Y strap is scary.
Oh,
Is that
yeah.
where they put it under your neck and then yank on your head or whatever?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not about that life. Yeah, I ain't about to do that. Man, you ain't doing that to me.
I've never
That's
tried
in
it
the
out.
list of that's in the list of no. It's like, have you ever had, actually, let me ask you, this is another random. I didn't really plan on asking you a bunch of chiropractic questions, but have you ever had anybody ask you to do something to them that you're like, I don't feel like my medical license is going to survive that if I did that to you?
I have not. No, I haven't had anybody ask me anything weird outside of the scope of my practice, but I wouldn't be surprised. I still have many years left, so
They just show up and they say, hey, I'm here. I want to get some hot stones put on my back or whatever, because I saw it on YouTube. I saw a YouTube video and it looked like it really worked. They do it in China. Okay.
they do.
Right.
I went to a massage parlor one time and they did that to me.
They put the hot rocks on you, the hot stone therapy.
Yeah.
Okay, so that, and I remember the craziest thing. I've never had that, but the craziest thing I've had was cupping. And I'm just gonna tell you, when she said, okay, like she like lights the match, I was like, well, where's that going? I was just like, oh no, where's that going? I was like, I don't see anything flammable in your, because she had the cup in her hand, right? And I was like, okay, well, I know glass cups don't burn. You just lit this. I don't see any candles. There's no incense. Where's that going? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not into that. I'm not into that. I'm married. Sorry, I'm not into that. I'm just not doing it. You're silly.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, Jose, I appreciate you coming on here, man. I had a good time talking to you. I hope that you'll come back
Likewise, man.
again. And man, if I can ever do anything, if you have anything you ever want to promote or anything like that, you just hit me up with it. I'm happy to throw it out there. I have a segment that's coming up next. Actually, it's called News and Other Things. And part of that is if I see interesting videos on YouTube that have content that I think people should see, then I always include that in there. So I'm happy to include any stuff from you like that in there because I think that we need to all support each other and help each other grow. I'm a big fan of people who are making good, interesting, entertaining, and educational content on YouTube instead of just generic stuff that looks like, public access channel or whatever. So
Right.
I appreciate what you do. Anyway, man, I'll
Thank
let
you
you
for
get. Of course, man.
Yeah.
I'll let you get out of here and get your day started, and we will be jumping right into news and other things. You guys stay right there. Thanks, my man.
Thanks, brother.
Later. All right, that was my guy Jose from Shredded Dad Garage Gym. You guys make sure that you are following him on Instagram at Shredded Dad Garage Gym. How about I go ahead and just put it up here instead of trying to just remember it. Follow at Dad Shredded on Instagram, and then on YouTube you want to subscribe to Shredded Dad, and that way you can check out all of his content on here. And if you are watching this show and you want to support our channel, which I hope you do, if you like the content so far, I'd love it if you would hit that like button and hit subscribe. You've seen our first segment. Help me out. I'm trying to get to 50,000 subscribers and improve YouTube for the home gym community. Keep on putting out good content that you guys will love. And if you're already a subscriber, do me a favor, share this video link. Share the link to any video on my channel because that's the kind of stuff that makes us grow. All right, let's go ahead and jump into our next segment, which is news and other things. All right, so first item is news about the channel. We have what I consider to be good news. We have a new way for you to support the channel, and it is a promo code. So you can support the show, and you can save money on premium workout gear. Let me go ahead and pull it up here. And so we have our friends over at Ion have given me a code for you guys to use. So you can check out. So Ion makes high quality premium weighted vests. They have two categories. You have the performance vest that you see there, and then they have the lifestyle vest that you could wear, like to work or something like that. And they also have them available in men's and women's. And the women's workout vest comes in normal, the normal full workout vest. And then they also have a kind of like a crop top. So you guys can see the different options there. We actually had, and then there's the under hoodie. You can save 10% at checkout on any of these things by using the promo code Garage Gym Life. And so you'll save 10%, and then it will also support the channel. I'm not sure why I'm bisected right now, but let's go ahead and fix that. Oh, I know what I need to do. I need to slide down this way. No, I need to slide this way. Yeah, look at it. All right, we're getting there. We're learning. We're going to figure out which way we need to go. All right, this is riveting for those of you who are just listening. All right. Anyway, like I said, you can support the channel, and you can get what I consider to be one of the best weighted vests on the market for workouts. Now, what I love about it, man, is it's a vest that becomes part of your body when you put it on. So it doesn't feel like it's an extension of your body. It doesn't screw up your lever angle. It doesn't cause you to pitch forward. I actually got I got Ion to send a vest out to my uncle because he was looking for a weighted vest. You guys may have seen this on Instagram, or you may have seen my review that's here on the channel. If you haven't, I'll put the link for that in the description for the video. But anyway, so you can see the full story. But basically, he loved that thing, and you guys can see he was able to wear it. It looks like a normal vest. It doesn't look like he's about to go out and and assault a town or whatever, go into combat. He's able to wear it, this is us here at the park. We were just catching some B-roll, but this was actually literally his first time trying the vest out. So you see, he's doing like different things, just kind of seeing how it felt. And one of the things he said is that he could feel that it was insulating him and it was giving him extra warmth for his lower back. So he was a big fan of that. And then later on, he actually didn't want to take it off. So he was wore it at the park. And then later on, he wore it, he's just in his office doing some stuff while we were actually like editing stuff. And I was like, this dude still got his vest on. And it's funny because my cousin messaged me and she's like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, my dad said that he loves his vest and we're all teasing him because he won't take it off. So he's a big fan of it. And so because he's a big fan of it, I'm a big fan of it because he was looking for a good solution. So if you're in the market for a weighted vest, I know that Ion is a brand that may not have been on your radar, but I can tell you that that vest is legit. It's got little weights all through it. That's another reason why I like it. Is it doesn't have too many of the weighted vests I see now feel like the flak jackets I wore in the Marine Corps, whereas like it feels like the weight is all like in one little area, right? Whereas the weights have little plates and they're distributed all around the vest, and so I think it's a really cool product, and I encourage you guys to check it out. Like I said, you can use promo code Garage Gym Life, and you will save 10% at use it at checkout. You'll save 10%. So you'll help and you'll be supporting the show and supporting the channel because all that money is going to go, whatever we make is going to go back into making a better product for you guys here on YouTube. All right, so that's the first thing. The second item is, well, first of all, did any of you enter the Mad Spotter giveaway? Let's just start there. So put it in the chat if you're watching on replay. I'm kind of interested to find out how many people entered the Mad Spotter giveaway. So I know that Mad Spotter had this, I think it's like their 4-year anniversary, and I got an email because I had purchased the Mad Spotter hooks, and I got the notification from them, and it was I basically ignored it because I already had the hooks, so I wasn't really interested in whatever. But I'm just interested, just wanted to see if anybody. So Eric said he didn't enter the Mad Spotter giveaway. First of all, did y'all even know about the Mad Spotter giveaway? That's another thing. It's like, did you even know about it? Because I only found out about it because they sent me an email, and it almost, I don't know if it was in my spam folder or what, but I know it wasn't like very prominent, on my radar. This is driving me bananas right now. This camera right here. Let's get this thing fixed. And, it feels like I get it centered on the banner behind me, and then I scoot over because it looks like I'm off to the side too much, and I scoot over, and then it still feels weird. So yeah, all right. I'll probably be fighting with this entire time. Welcome to my life. Anyway, yeah, so it kind of went under the radar for me. And then I was like, well, so they've got, let me go ahead and show you. They've got what they call the Mad Spotter Pro 2.0. I mean, they're okay. Like let's just get rid of that right there. We're not interested in that. So here's the thing. So I'm looking at the Mad Spotter Pro 2.0, right? And it looks like they may have corrected the thing that I did not like about them, because they had the version that they had out didn't have the safety straps, right? And so I had the original version. And I was comparing the Mad Spotter to the original version that was put out by Country Power years ago, right? And they had like a flap that goes over it so that you can retain the dumbbell, right? Well, then Mad Spotter got rid of that and Mad Spotter had the little Velcro wrap around, and then the mat spotters that I got, that I reviewed, had the Velcro was missing. They had removed that, and like it wasn't necessary. And I made the point in my review that without that Velcro there, it's very easy for the dumbbell handle to come out of that little groove, and you know, bad things can happen. So now, Jared, you said you have an injury story with the mad spotters. Go ahead. What's the cliff? I don't know if you can, if it's, is it long, is it short enough that you can put in the comment section for me to put up? Because I'll put it up and read it if it's short enough for you to do that. Otherwise, we can make it a recliner of rage one day. You can bring it on here. Carlos said giveaway. He said he never even knew about the giveaway. That's what I'm saying. And I think that I got the email because I certainly didn't sign up for email list from them. But I think because I have purchased the Mad Spotters to do the review, I got put on some list somewhere. And yeah, that's how I found out about it. I'm trying to see, where's this thing? Because it was like one of those things. They're like, "Hey, John, we noticed that you didn't sign up for, we noticed you didn't sign up for our giveaway. It's our 4-year anniversary or whatever." And I was like, "Yeah, I didn't." So now, while we're talking about Mad Spotters, first of all, let's look at this thing here, see what's different about it. So, okay, so y'all see what I'm talking about. Let me enlarge that a little bit. So you can see this right here they don't have the retaining strap. Can you guys see that, what I'm talking about? They don't have the retaining strap over it that would stop the dumbbell handle from popping out, right? I mean, that looks wonderful, but that looks great. All this looks fascinating. It looks fantastic. Yay. But it doesn't have the retaining strap that I think is the biggest safety issue, because what happens is when you hanging on the bar, the pressure from your hand could push the dumbbell right up out of the hooks. So there's no way I wouldn't give that to somebody I disliked. Let's just put it like that. So I'm not a fan. Okay, so here's the story. All right, so long story short, Jared said he was doing decline pressing with his heaviest dumbbells he had. He just had the barbell on J cups, and you actually dragged the barbell off the J cups. Oh, geez. So the bar, and I assume, so the bar fell on you while you're also holding these dumbbells. Okay, yeah, now I want to hear the rest of the story. Okay, so the bar didn't hit your face. He said, but it freaked me out. I dropped the right dumbbell. The left I tried to steady on the way down, and he almost tore his tricep tendon off the elbow. Yikes! Yeah, no thanks. So I'm trying to think, like, for me, so for one thing, I don't do decline stuff with them, right? With any kind of, I haven't done dumbbell decline work in ages. But and so back when I did do dumbbell decline work, I was still working in the public gym. So I just had somebody hand the dumbbells to me. And I think we would just put them down, because you're on a decline, so you're closer to the ground. So it's not like you're like slamming them down like you would if you're doing a flat dumbbell benching. So I don't, yeah. I typically only use my dumbbell hooks for incline, flat, and then of course for any kind of seated press. I usually use it for that. And actually, seated press is where I noticed the biggest issue with the fact that there's no retaining strap, because the seated press is where I was going to rack it, and as I put it down, the dumbbell came up and out of the handle, and I'm like, this is not a good thing. And I'm glad I was only using, I think I only had like 40s, but that would not have been. I'm not a fan of any of that. That being said, they also have another product that I kind of wasn't a fan of either. I feel like I'm just like, dissing Matt Spotter today, but it is what it is. So this thing, the Mad Neck. I don't know. Have we talked about the Mad Neck before on this show? I don't know if we have or not, but um, for me, this thing, the Mad Neck, is supposedly the perfect tool to perform neck curls and neck extensions without having to awkwardly wrap your plates in a towel. Makes neck training 10 times more comfortable so you can go 10 times harder. All right, that sounds great. Awesome. But then when you look at the video, you're still holding a thing on your face. I don't see how this is in any way superior to just wearing a neck harness, which has been around since the 80s at least. Like literally, I don't see how that is in any way an improvement over just wearing a harness, just wearing a neck harness. Uh yeah, I don't see that. Let me stop sharing. Let me check these comments. We got some comments here. So Jared says I haven't used the Matter Spotter since that was over a year ago. And he says, he continues, so I basically did the eccentric portion of a dumbbell skull crusher French press with 120 pound, with 120. It took a lot of months to regain tricep strength. Yeah, I mean, I like the product idea, okay, but I just don't think that I would use them. Well, I'm definitely not going to use them in that situation now that I've heard your story, but I don't think I would have used them in a decline situation just because, well, I may have, but I don't think that it would have occurred to me to use them in a decline situation. I don't think. He said, "Yeah, it was total user error on my part, but that spooked me going down a little differently. I probably, yeah, you probably would have needed surgery. Yeah, definitely. Uh, okay, so then Home Gym Physique. What's up, man? I don't know if this is your first time on the channel, but hey, man, welcome. Thank you for being here. Glad you jumped in and jumped in the chat. This the I think that when you guys jump in the chat, that's what really sets the show apart. So I really am glad that you're here. All right, now got that out the way. He's a sorry, but I completely disagree with people's negative reviews of Matt Spotter. I didn't give him a okay, maybe it was kind of negative. But okay, so it was kind of negative, but it was only negative in the sense that I said that I think that they could improve the product by adding that by bringing back the Velcro strap, right? And actually, I will post the link to my review of the hooks of those Mass Spotter hooks. Heck, I'll post it in the video description. So anybody who was watching on replay, or you guys, if you want to check it out after the show is over, or heck, we'll be on for like another 3 hours. So if you want to go watch it and come back, that's fine too. But that's what I basically said. What I was doing is I compared the Mad Spotters to the original version that I've had, like I said, when I bought it from Country Power. And in my opinion, they did not improve the design, but I think that the product idea is a good idea, especially if you train by yourself. And he says, I'm referring to Mad Spotter hooks. They're awesome in my opinion. If I thought they were risky to use, I simply wouldn't use them. But that's that's not true. I don't know what part you're saying is not true. But yeah, I don't think that Mad Spotters are inherently risky to use. I think that, like I said, I think it's a good product idea because I mean, I know people say if you can't handle the dumbbells to be able to put them up, then you shouldn't be using them. And I'm like, yeah, but when's the last time you power cleaned? I'm sorry, did a seated power clean in order to set up for the bench press with a bar? And the answer is you don't. Nobody does that. So it's the same principle, you know. And to be honest, to be fair, since I happen to be a student of physical culture history, I know that when people used to bench press originally, they would do a pullover and get the bar off of the ground. So it was a true pullover, and then they would press it, right? And then somebody got the bright idea to just create uprights with a place to rest the bar, so you could take it off of the take it off the uprights, and we were off to the races after that. Uh, Carp said, I've created Matt Spotter. No, those won't work with my dumbbells. Do you have like power blocks or something? Carp? Uh, I'm curious. I know they don't work with I know they don't work with every kind of dumbbell, but yeah. Okay, he said, I've created a detailed review on both the old Mass Spotters and the new 2.0, but haven't posted them yet. I never liked the hand wrap, nor did I find it necessary. It was only produced with the old Mass Spotter hooks to help prevent scratching to your dumbbell handles. Okay, I hear what you're saying, and I respect your opinion, and I just disagree with it. Like I said, I used it for a press, and as soon as I went to rack the dumbbell, I noticed the dumbbell handle, the dumbbell coming up and out of the hooks. And if I was bench pressing with a dumbbell, so I was doing a press, so I was sitting down is a vertical thing. And if this same thing happened when I was laying down, that would not have been cool in my opinion, especially if I was using dumbbells that were heavy. I apologize for disagreeing with you. No, I don't. Hey, that's cool though. I tell you what, I tell you what, when you post your review, I'm fine with people disagreeing with me. When you post your review, is it going to be posted on YouTube? If it is, come back. Actually, okay. So I'm going to post the link to my review of the Mass Spotters. All right. I'll post the link to it in the description for this video, or you can just go on my channel and search it. When you post your review, go in the comments on that video and post the link to yours. And because I want to check it out. Okay, it will be on YouTube. All right, perfect. Yeah. So go ahead. So I know I just gave you like a whole lot of, it's like trying to find a treasure map, trying to follow a treasure map. So I'm gonna post the link to my review of the Mass Spotters, and I'm gonna post the link to it in the description for this video. When I do that, or you can go search for it now if you want. Regardless, go to the comment section of that video when you post your review and post the link to your review in the comment section. That way I can find it and I will and I want to watch it because I'm interested because you may bring up some points that I didn't consider. So I'm interested to watch it. Let's see. Here you go, Matt causing trouble. So he's not disagreeing with you. He's just saying you're wrong with more words. John secretly really mean and hates butterflies. No cap. You know what, man? Here's the thing. And I keep on telling you this. I don't mind telling everybody. This is a no butterfly zone. You don't believe me? Here, let me show you. No butterfly zone. No butterflies of any kind. Ever. Not ever. All right. I killed 2 moths because they looked like butterflies, and by the time I realized they weren't, it was too late for them. I'm hesitant to post. Omjim Physique says I'm hesitant to post reviews now. I came across a legal video online stating that if negative reviews affect company sales, we fitness review guys can get sued. It's crazy. All right. So all I'm going to say about that is that legal video online. Was posted in order to get people to watch it, and basically a fear tactic is one of the best ways to get people to watch your content. So you notice that people tend to watch stuff that's going to scare them a lot more than people watch stuff that's going to make them happy. We have got a special guest here in the building, by the way. The owner, operator, proprietor, and chief bottle washer, my guy David Huckleby, is down here. He's lurking somewhere in the vicinity. You know what? This means I could do a film before a live studio audience now. Oh man. Okay. But yeah, man, I don't think you're gonna have any issues because there's so many negative reviews out about so many companies that the good companies, first of all, the smart companies recognize that any publicity is good publicity because that means people are talking about you, right? then the good companies will address the things that you say that are negative about their product. They will address those things and correct them. And I know I've actually got one uh example in mind, because so like when I took my guy Tim from Gym Crafter to HomeGymCon, I introduced him to Kayvon from Bells of Steel. And while he was talking to Kayvon, he brought, the topic of a negative review that Tim had done on the Bells of Steel rackable easy curl bar came up, and Kayvon and like they got into this long, detailed conversation that was very positive actually. And if you didn't catch Kayvon on this show last week, you should definitely check it out, because he said that he likes it when, I mean, he doesn't like negative comments, but he said that actually serves as a form of QA for him. You know, it's over and above the QA that they do with their company anyway. So that anytime they get like negative feedback or interaction, whatever, it serves as QA because it makes them stop and say, hey, do we, are we actually in the wrong here? Do we need to check ourselves or whatever? You know what I'm saying? So I don't I don't think it's going to be an issue. I mean, if that was the case, Titan Fitness would be suing people left and right. But here's the other thing. Here's the flip side of that. So let's say you say something negative about uh my iPhone, right? Let's say you say something negative about iPhones. So so Apple decides to sue you. You're going to have to, as part of your trial, you're going to have to present evidence for why you said the negative thing, right? So now all the negative stuff you say about them now is public record in a court of law. They don't want that. Do you see what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes sense, but they don't want that at all. Because if you're like, if you just made a video about it, they can always say, well, that's just your opinion. But if you go to court and throw it out there, then they're like, oh, okay, here's your, you show up with your evidence. I mean, that actually looks bad on them. Tattoo Saying says Planet Fitness got some busy lawyers because everybody hates them. So the USA suing culture is crazy to me. I mean, yeah, over here in America, so I don't know. This is a tangent, and I recognize it, and we're not going to stay on it. I'm watching you, Matt. I know your tendencies. You try to get me off on tangents. But the thing is that part of the thing in America is there's no like repercussion for you suing somebody. So you can bring a frivolous lawsuit against anyone, and there's no repercussion against you for wasting their time, making them lose a day of productivity at their job or whatever. Maybe they had to take the day off without pay, whatever. There's no repercussion on you for doing that. Now you can counter sue, but what if the person you're counter suing doesn't have anything? You still lost a day of work and you got nothing but frustrated. So there's that. Anyway, so moving on. Now let's talk about AbMat. Okay, so true, but that stress I don't need in my life. I'll continue to post reviews, but only if I fully believe that overall the product is good. Man, here's the thing, dude. I mean, I can see that. And you kind of have to make the decision about what kind of channel you want to have. But I will tell you that if a channel only posts positive reviews about products, it damages their credibility because people will start to believe that you are being paid by companies, right? And it's okay. It's okay if a company's paying you. I mean, heck, I get paid to review stuff. The difference is they're paying me for my time. They're not paying me for a good review. But I'm saying like people will have the impression that you're a paid like a product spokesperson, right? Which isn't necessarily a review channel. The other side of it too is I see that it's one thing if you're making videos where you're just trashing a company just to trash them. But for me, I think it is a useful service because you have a ton of people who don't know They're not educated consumers. Yeah, you have a lot of people who watch review videos just for like a form of entertainment, but you have a fair number of people who are not educated consumers, and so they actually need the information. And so I feel like if I can save anybody money, like I made a video about the chirp wheel. It was like a YouTube short. But I was just like, look, this thing doesn't really do anything. It doesn't make any of the noises you heard here in the commercial. It's basically just a wheel, and it's not even the cheapest one. So in my mind, you can get the exact same thing accomplished by going to Home Depot or Lowe's and buying some PVC pipe, right? Save, I don't see the point. Or like a connector or whatever. Um, PVC connector. But there are people who might have spent money on the chirp wheel. I'm not saying that everybody listens to me. I'm just saying, hey, look, if I save one person from spending money on the chirp wheel, then to me it's a good thing. Also, when it comes to something that impacts people's safety, I think it's a good idea. If you know that this thing is unsafe and you don't say anything, then to me you bear some of the responsibility when somebody gets hurt because you knew and you didn't warn them. You know, uh, that's just how I look at it. Because I think that having a platform kind of gives us a responsibility to put good information out there. Uh, but that's just what I think. So Matt says in the UK, if you do that, you pay court costs and the opposition's legal fees. So it deters the small claims for risk of losing. Yeah, I've heard of that. There's a guy called Neil Bortz who used to advocate for it. He said it's a loser pays system. Matt says, as you say, if it's a constructive review over a video, just ripping on the product, then most companies would see it as free R&D. Exactly. If you say, and I mean, like every product has something good about it. I think the most negative review I've ever done was of a power rack by a company called Evol Pow. And they sent me the rack for free. They paid me for the review. And I sent them an email before I ever posted the review. I said, look, I'm just going to tell you right now, this is going to be, I promised you that I was going to be fair. But I'm going to tell you that most of the stuff I'm about to say in this review is going to be negative. There are going to be some positive things, but a lot of what I'm about to say in this review is going to be negative. I'm not changing it. I'm just giving you fair warning so you can brace yourself. And I was honest. Now, I didn't go looking for stuff like to try to trash them, because you hear people who trash companies because let's say they really love Rogue Fitness, right? So anything that's not Rogue Fitness is trash. You have people who do that. But not really any ethical content creators. Nobody that I can think of who's a content creator that's ethical would do that. So I wasn't doing that. But I was literally like saying, look, this is not acceptable. The welds are bad. Where they have the way that they've set up the storage for the attachments is bad because it gets in the way of the pulleys. The weight ratio on the pulleys is bad. The pulleys themselves suck. And I went down a list of things that I just didn't like. And it was like, well, I have to be honest though, because I'll say this, the flip side of it is I did a review of a Mikolo power rack. I forgot which one it was. I think it was the Mikolo F4. And I did it maybe 3 years ago. Man, I still get people asking me questions. First of all, I don't even have that thing anymore, right? But I still get people asking me questions about that rack because it's for sale on Amazon. And then they see it on Amazon, they Google it, my review pops up. They're like, oh, this guy's already, tested this rack out. Let me ask him questions. So literally, I still get questions about that rack. I mean, all right. I'm trying to see, like, my last question I got on the Mikolo rack that I uploaded, man, I want to say it was 2 years ago. I want to say that Mikolo rack was 2 years ago. And I still get a lot of questions about the compact pro. Okay, here we go. So 4 days ago, I got a comment. I got a question on there about that Makolo rack. And like I said, that video is from I post that. Okay, it's a year ago. Okay. It's up to like 18,000 views now because people keep looking at it. Well, if I had never done the review of it and I listed the pros and the cons in there, and I get people arguing with me like their cousin works at Makolo or something, but I get people arguing with me. For example, one of the things I said was this gauge of steel is so thin that makes me nervous about putting any real weight on it because it dimpled when I was tightening the bolts. I'm like, if it can't handle the pressure of me tightening the bolt, what's going to happen when I have, let's say I'm doing lockout squats or something like that, or walkouts or bench lockouts or anything, something like where it's like basically over my ability to hold or pin or maybe top end pin presses, right? So it's not something that I could, okay, well, I can try to still catch it or whatever. No, it's something that's over my ability to hold and it falls out of my hands. Is this thing going to protect me? Is this rack going to be able to handle it? I don't feel like it is because I was just tightening a bolt down during the normal assembly process and it dimpled. I don't know about that. So say Homes and Physique says constructive criticism should be allowed. Yes, but not gonna lie, that legal video online made to educate YouTubers freaked me out. I'm telling you, man. Again, that legal video online, was it posted on YouTube? Because they posted it so they could get watch time and so they could get grow their channel. So I always take stuff like that with a grain of salt too. And I will say that the good news about that though is, again, if you don't want a libel suit, don't say things that are not true. But you shouldn't say things that aren't true anyway. That's just incentive to do what you should have done what we should be doing in the first place. All right, Carp said his dumbbells are the rubber coated. They're 30% smaller than normal Hex dumbbells. Okay, I got you. They don't, so that explains why the mass bottles don't fit on there. Okay. Matt said it would be interesting to see if they did any improvements post your review. Did they fix anything I pointed out? I don't know, man, because some of these companies, dude, especially some of the Amazon brands, their business model is essentially to sell to people who are focused on budget as the primary thing. And for me, cost is not the number one thing. Now, I'm not Daddy Warbucks riding around everywhere in a limo, but I figure you could save up to buy anything. It's just a matter of how long you have to save up for it. What you can't do is grow your face back if the barbell falls on it, because the thing that you bought trying to be cheap didn't protect your lips and teeth. Okay. And now your dang front teeth are embedded in the back of your neck because the bar fell on it and you're trying to be cheap. And I'm a fan of my face. So nah, we ain't doing that. I'm just not gonna do it. But yeah, I think that they just kind of go with their business model is just to go after the lowest bidder, man. And that's sad to me because I think you make a lot more money treating people correctly, because those people will become like rabid fans of your brand. Let's use Massonomics as an example. They just came out with a new hoodie colorway. And people who are fans of Massonomics are already like ready to buy it, right? Because of the community that Massonomics has built, because of how they treat the people in that community. And so people like to spend money with people who they know, like, and trust. So if your business model depends on just kind of slapdash putting stuff together that you know, doesn't actually protect people, which is what a power rack is for, uh, to allow you to safely develop strength, um, as well as let you work specific ranges of motion, but whatever. But it's supposed to let you do it safely. So if you're building a thing that doesn't do anything I just mentioned because you just want to make a fast dollar, I think in the long run, your company's not going to survive because the word's eventually going to get out about you. You notice one thing too, if you look at some of those Amazon brands that sell like the cheap stuff, they got multiple brand names. Why do you think they keep on having to change their company name? You know, why do you think that is? You think they just, they get bored with the cricket machine? They're like, oh, let's see what else we could call it. Nah, it's because I mean, I don't know how the legal system works in China, but I know they got lawyers over there too. So that's all I'm saying. Carp said, did y'all see Mike Van Wyck throat punch Jeff Nippert? Now he's being sued. I did not. I haven't seen anybody get throat punched within the last 6 months. I'm always down to see it though. I'll look up the video at some point. I'll look it up today at some point. All right, next item. News and other things. Next item. AbMat thinks we need another barbell pad, and I disagree. Am I wrong? Tell me in the comments. First of all, let's pull it up because I like to be fair. I'm all about fairness, even though fairness is not in the Bible. It really ain't. Let's see. We can't pull this up here. AbMat products. All right. The barbell bomb, hip thrust pad, barbell pillows, preacher pad. Later, get out of here. I don't even see it. I know they sent me a dang email about it. All right, well, here we go. So you guys can just look at it on my you guys can look at it on my in my email. So I got here it is. All right, so right here. So this isn't your average run-of-the-mill squat sponge. This is the barbell pad by AbMat. I feel like I should get that guy who does like the voiceovers for movie trailers to do this. But anyway, after dozens of requests, really? Dozens? Really? Okay. Multiple groups of 12 asked you about this. All right. They decided to manufacture the best barbell pad on the market. Made with our proprietary Forever Foam Blend, we can confidently declare that this is the most comfortable option available. From back squats to hip thrusts and everything in between, the barbell pad ensures you don't feel the bar. All right, so let's talk about why I disagree with this barbell pad being necessary. Matt says, who requested a sissy pad? I want names. Eric says, I saw that this morning. So dumb, LOL. But I guess it's a way to get new people in the gym who want one of those pads to look at their other products. That's a good point. Yeah. All right. Here's why I disagree, since I'm being disagreeable. Look, and let me say, I'm a fan of AbMat. They got a bunch of stuff that I like. Okay. Last thing I bought from them, I think, was the barbell bomb. I love it. I've got their I like it. Anyway, I've got their U-Bell. I got some stuff. I got a bunch of stuff from AbMat. This is not, in my opinion, necessary. So they think we need another barbell pad. And what I think about the barbell pad is, first of all, it basically does what their Zercher pad and their hip thrust pad already do. So it's doing something that I got other products that already do, right? That's one. Number two, anybody, okay? Anybody. By anybody, I mean anyone. Anybody can learn to squat without discomfort with a bar on their back. As long as they can get the bar. If they can't get the bar on their back, then they don't need this pad anyway. They need something else because they're doing front squats or something like whatever, right? Or they're using like a squat harness. But anybody who can put the bar on their back can learn to properly position the bar so that they can squat without discomfort. Okay. I think that squat pads, moreover, in fact, I think the squat pads reinforce bad barbell positioning because the reason it hurts your neck when you put it on your back, when you put it on your neck, is because it shouldn't be on your neck. Let me say that again. The reason it hurts your neck when you put it on your neck is because it shouldn't be on your neck. So it's a bad idea to make it more comfortable to put it where it should not be. So Home Gym Physique said, I tried using a similar pad by a different company for dumbbell bicep curls over a barbell instead of using it for squats, but the pad kept falling off. Matt, you don't have to be in a recliner rage, Matt. You don't have to be in a recliner rage. In fact, you know what? We might do the recliner rage with a guest. Just depends. We may do that. I don't know. Yeah, I just think it's like I said, I think it's not necessary. So, I mean, and to me, okay, it's a hip thrust pad. I think it doesn't do as good a job as the hip thrust pad does. You see how she's got the bar on her neck? Well, that's not where it goes. And okay, the Zercher squat. I mean, if you have a narrow frame or prefer to keep your arms tucked in, use the barbell pad to protect your elbows during Zercher squats. So they've already got a Zercher pad. Okay. I think that you should do Zercher. First of all, it's a Zercher lift. It's not Zercher squats. That's a pet peeve. Call it what it's supposed to be called. Ed Zercher, who invented the lift, didn't call it a Zercher squat. He called it a Zercher lift because it's basically a deadlift. I know that doesn't make you happy, Kurt, because you don't think that you think deadlifts only fit in a very narrow rubric, but it is what it is. It's a Zercher lift. So anyway, I think that you should not use anything because it I think again it goes back to reinforcing bad positioning and not learning good technique. With good technique, even as the Zercher is not uncomfortable. And also I think that when you start adding a whole bunch of stuff, then you get people to start doing silly things with the Zercher that it wasn't meant to be done with. So there's that little rant. Once again, I'm the old dude saying, get off my lawn. So Matt said instead of a pad for Zercher, try just wearing elbow sleeves. I mean, literally, Matt. Anyway, I don't even want to go down that. You don't need it. All right. Home Gym Physique says bodybuilding legend Tom Platz actually used a towel rolled up similar to that pad design whenever he squatted. That's probably why these products have been designed. I mean, I guess, yeah, but just because I know he's a legend and at the risk of sounding whatever, just because Tom Platz did it doesn't mean it was a good idea when he did it, right? Also, if you look at Tom Platz's traps, I would argue that he didn't need it on his traps either because he was putting the bar in the right place. And, I would argue that he had enough trap development that he didn't need it at all. Now you got manta rays and all kinds of other stuff out there. It's just not necessary. No. I would say for every bodybuilder, yeah, I mean, for every bodybuilder who has that thing on their neck, I'll show you tons of super strong weightlifters and powerlifters who have never touched one and they're just fine. He said, personally, I agree with you. It's a useless product. Yeah. No, I mean, hey, look, they got a factory full of people whose job it is to come up with new products every day. So, they collect their paycheck on Friday. That means they better make something Monday through Thursday. So they came up with this pad. Hey, I'm not knocking the hustle. I'm just saying I don't think that I don't think that's necessary. Matt says Tom Platt's squat weight and volume. He probably did it to stop an indent in his traps, as I'm convinced he slept in a squat rack. That's true. He might be somewhere squatting right now. The CT Fletcher called like his Iron Marathon. Tom Platz was like that for squats. That's crazy. All right. Now, let me I want to give a shout out. This is good news. I like giving good news when I can. So I'm gonna make y'all happy. Then we're gonna go into recliner rage for the culture. Actually, no. Yeah, I'll make y'all happy. Then we're going to recliner rage. All right. So this is something I had nothing to do with, but I'm glad that it happened. Or I guess maybe I was peripherally involved. But I'm glad it happened, and I'm even more glad that I was told about it. Right. So you guys were watching last week. John Black, who's a USPC powerlifter, active duty Army. Remember we were talking to John, and I asked him why he doesn't use wrist wraps. And he said he's just never used them. He never saw he didn't know. He's like, I don't know what I've never used them. I don't know if I'd get anything out of them. And I was like, dude, you got to use wrist wraps. At the very least, use them on bench because you're leaving, you're leaving weight on the platform, right? You could be adding, your bench would go up. You're competing in powerlifting. Your bench would go up if you use wrist wraps. Okay. So anyway, we finished the interview. We're done, right? Well, then Monday, he told me Bells of Steel. So you guys know that Kayvon was on the segment after John. So John was on the show, and then later on in that show, Kayvon was on. From Kayvon, the founder, president of Bells of Steel. He was on, and we didn't talk about John at all. But apparently, the guys at Bells of Steel watched the video and they heard John's story. And John said that they reached out to him. And so Monday, he told me that they reached out to him and they're sending him some of their wrist wraps. No charge, right? That goes right back to what I said earlier. If you just treat people well, the word of mouth is going to get out there. You're going to get people who want to be your customers. Because look what I'm doing. I'm not getting paid a thing to tell y'all about this story, but I am. So now you're hearing something positive about Bells of Steel. So I'm sure it makes you want to support them more, right? So anyway, so Bells of Steel watched John's segment and they reached out to him and they're sending him some wrist wraps. So like I said, I had nothing to do with it other than the fact that I had both Kayvon and John on my show at 2 different times, and and they took action. Because here's the thing, they would never. John didn't know that they had watched the show. They had no incentive to. They could have just gone under the radar instead of reaching out to him. I think that's a good deal. That's a good deal. Jake from Garage Gym Radio said, "Good job, Bells of Steel. That's a customer for life." Yeah, I mean, it's so much better to just treat people well, man. Just treat people good. Jared, I completely agree. Jared said Bells of Steel is a super generous company. I think that's a symptom. That's a side effect of when companies don't forget where they came from and why they started. You guys see that Kayvon is a super down to earth, laid back dude. Like the way he's answering your questions. By the way, we are gonna have. I know he had to cut out early because he had to go pick up his daughter, or he had to walk his daughter to school. I'm 100% on board with him leaving the interview early to take his daughter to school. You're never going to get those years back. So I'm 100% on board with that. But we are working out a date for him to come back so he can answer the rest of the questions, plus any new ones that have come up. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to tell you guys that story because I think that is that's just another sign of how they are as a brand. So do this for me though. The next time somebody's talking trash about them somewhere, go ahead and share your positive interactions that you've had with them, because too often people are willing to share negativity and not share the positive stuff that happens. And I think that's a so it's a brand that I think the world of. I spent my money on their products. Yes, they've sent me stuff for free as well. They've paid me to do reviews as well. They pay me for my time to do reviews, rather. But I've also bought stuff just because I needed I needed that function fulfilled, and I trusted the Bells of Steel product more than anything else in that particular category. So they're not the only brand I support, but they are definitely a brand I support. Matt says, on a serious note, that's awesome of Bells of Steel to do. Love to see it. Yeah, man, 100%. Let's see here. Yeah, dimpling metal on a power rack assembly is not a good sign. Heck yeah. And you know what? Here's the other thing, man. God, what's his name? Dennis Cornelius. Dennis Cornelius is a world champion. All right. The dude is still lifting on a power rack that he and his dad built when he was in high school. Okay. If he can build something that would last that long, he's like in his 40s, maybe now, late 30s, 40s. How can a company with a huge factory not dedicate the resources to build something at least as good as that? If you can't make a rack at least as good as a high schooler and his dad can make in their spare time in the evening, then you need to kind of get your life together. That's what I say. If you say that's what you do for a living. All right. Let's jump into say hey bro, how many sets you got left? Tom Platts. Yes, I know, man. Even the videos where you see him with like the suit on, he still looks like he can squat 500 a billion times, like right then and there. Dude's insane. All right. I meant to say this behind Jake's back, but now he's here watching, so it's too late for that. But how do you guys like the new HomeGymCon logo? I like it, actually. And for those of you who have not seen it, I will, at this very moment, live and in color, live and direct, as the Jamaicans say, I am going to share my screen with you. No, this is not a drill. I'm going to do it right now. Here we go. Bam, look at that. So check out the new HomeGymCon logo. Shown for if you can't see it, or for those who are listening on audio only, it shows it's got HomeGymCon across the top. Of course, 2020. This is the logo for 2025, so it says 2025, and it basically shows. It looks like a garage or a shed. Got weights inside, or like weight training equipment inside, and then it looks like that's the Louisville skyline on the top in the background. So I think it looks like, yeah, because it looks like the what you call it that you go through when you're the bridge that you go over when you're going into Louisville. So yeah, I kind of like it. What do you guys think of this logo? I'm not typically a fan of white shirts, but I think this would look great on a white t-shirt. So yeah. That's the ticket. Side note, let me go here because HomeGymCon, this is legendary. Look at Gluck with this. That's just awesome. They caught him like right there. Anyway, all right. They're looking for recommendations for companies that you think they should reach out to. I think we are at 101 brands so far, but there's it's leaning heavily towards basically brands that make lifting equipment. So there's very limited cardio. If anybody who's interested in more commercial strength stuff, there's very limited options like that. I would assume Mayhem Strength is going to be there, and to me, that's what their stuff is most or best suited for. I mean, obviously, you can put their plate. Yeah, they're going to be there. So obviously, you can use their plates anywhere. But I'm talking about stuff like their adjustable bench. To me, that kind of more of a commercial gym piece. And they're surprised. This was a surprise to me. There are no flywheel companies. And I know that flywheel companies are, flywheels are pretty popular now. So go ahead and put in the chat right now if you're watching live, or if you're watching on replay, put in the comment section the names of some flywheel companies that you think that Jake from HomeGymCon should reach out to, and maybe we can go ahead and add them. We can see them at HomeGymCon. Home Gym Tech Support is in the building. Hey, what's up, my man? You know what? I have done a bad thing. I'm in the Central Time Zone, and I forgot to say good morning to the Central Time Zone. Good morning to the Central Time Zone. My bad. It didn't occur to me because I'm here. So, like, yeah, think about it. When I say good morning to you guys, normally I'm in Eastern time, and we drove all night. That's why you see, like, this is the first time I've appeared on camera without shaving, because we drove all night, set up, and I sat down and started doing the show. Um, anyway, so my bad, Central Time Zone. Good morning. I'm glad you guys are here. Now that I've said that, Home Gym Tech Support, who is not in the Central Time Zone, good morning to you. What's up, Dennis? How you doing, man? He says about the logo, sweet. Jared says only logo suggestion is add the fleur-de-lis, which is tied to Louisville, and you see it around there. Okay. Oh God, here we go, Eric. Now you trying to cause trouble. He said, I can't wait to call it Louisville while I'm down there and piss people off. Eric, you could do better, man. Come on. Jared said the logo is legit though, and he agrees with me. Yes, let's see if we can campaign for something that isn't white and staying super easy. Dude, my color palette is black and then a small section of colors that aren't black. So if you look in my t-shirt drawer, it's a bunch of black shirts and then like a little small segment of stuff that isn't black. So that's where your grays. I have one green shirt I have two green shirts for St. Patrick's Day because I don't like getting pinched. And also I'm part Irish. And then we have some red ones. So red is also an acceptable color, mostly because I'm a Georgia Bulldogs fan. But the predominantly black, okay? Black is where everything starts, as in nature. Eric says, I think it'd be good to get more boxing, MMA, fighting style stuff there. Yeah. Dennis said, I'm loading my van to build RitFit's new showroom. It's a huge project. Wish you were here to give your input. It sounds like you wish I was there to help load the van. Ever since Vietnam, I'm back. I just, the way look, I would, man, but the way my vacation days are at work, I can't. I am actually interested. Where is the showroom gonna be? I know you were doing that thing with Cali Muscle. Is this tied to that? So yeah, I'm interested and I want to hear it. In fact, take a picture when you're there. If you're allowed to, take a picture and show it. Post it on your Instagram. Because I'm interested to see what it looks like. I think RitFit's making some moves, man. I don't know what their end goal is as far as like where they want to be in the market, because they still strike me as kind of like an entry level brand for people who are setting up home gym for the first time. You're gonna, in my opinion, you'll outgrow their stuff fairly quickly. But I'm curious to see what segment of the population they're going after. You know what I mean? Like who their ideal customer is. Like I could tell you who the ideal Bells of Steel or Red Fitness customer probably is. I can tell you who the ideal Rogue Fitness customer is, even though Rogue is not a home gym company. I could tell you, but same thing. I could tell you who the ideal Body Solid company is, customers. With RitFit, I'm still kind of thinking about it. So it's in Chino Hills, California. Okay. Definitely going to post some videos and pics. All right. Sweet. All right. We have moved on. Oh, one last thing. Two more things. Iron Bull Strength. I just did a review of the Iron Bull Strength PR2 rack. Iron Bull Strength has got in Jake's words, they've got a very big booth set up for HomeGymCon in 2025. So I'm excited to see what they're going to have there, because like I mentioned several times in the review, I really like their rack. So I can't wait to see what else they bring out, because they don't have a ton of attachments. So I want to see if they kind of make a big splash and focus on bringing more attachments to HomeGymCon. And if so, I'm here for it. And speaking of HomeGymCons, ticket prices will go up November 1st. If you are watching this and you have not been to HomeGymCon, save some of your vacation days and go to HomeGymCon. It is a good time. If you have a home gym, you need to go. You need to go. It's a 2-day event. Go there, enjoy. You'll have a good time. It's gonna be in Louisville, so you have other stuff to do. If for some reason you get tired of looking at home gym equipment and hanging out with other people who actually understand your passion for working out in a home gym, but you go do other stuff. There's gonna be great food. There are also competitions. There's a strongman competition there. Strongman throwdown that Kurt is doing. There's other stuff. Seriously, go to HomeGymCon. And the ticket prices go up November 1st. So get your ticket before then. Why did Iron Bull Strength stop their affiliate program? That is in the category of I don't know. I do know that they have been working on. They built a new production facility in up there in Canada. Prior to that, I think they were importing their stuff from outside North America. It may have been China. I don't know. Okay, that's why I'm not saying China. I don't know, but I think they were importing their stuff from outside North America, and now they've got a production facility in Canada. So they may have wanted to wait until they had kind of more infrastructure built up, because I did see a thing on Reddit where people were talking about how the products weren't necessarily up to par at the time. So they may have wanted to discontinue it until they could put out a product. They could guarantee that they're putting out a product that was more in line with the quality that they want to put out. But that's just speculation. I don't know. Home Gym Physique. Actually, what's your name? I don't want to call you Home Gym Physique over and over. What's your name? Post that in the chat for me. All right. Now, so we got all that done. It is now time for the most popular segment of the day. That's right. People love it when I go off. Time for Recliner of Rage. It's the Recliner of Rage.
It's the Recliner of Rage, 'cause he's not happy.
Okay, so here we go. You know the Recliner of Rage tradition, all right? So say it with me at home. If one's mad, then we're all mad, and we stay mad until the one's not mad anymore, and potentially for at least a couple more months after that. All right, and here's why I'm mad today. All right, today's Recliner of Rage is dedicated to Texas Power Bars because it affects my brother right here. All right. So David has a bench bar, and when I tried to use it last year, I discovered that I could only slide a calibrated plate on one sleeve, right? As you know, bench barbells have two sleeves, one on each end. Well, I could only get a calibrated plate on one sleeve. The other end, it wouldn't go on. So I was like, I made the confused face. So I go and I grabbed other plates, and I tried a bunch of other plates. This before I ever reached out before I ever got your attention. I'm like, this ain't working. And so with every plate, it went on the one side, no problem. Other side wouldn't go on. It maybe like that one, maybe a half an inch, and that's it.
Calibrated.
No further.
Calibrated plates.
Yes. So I'm like, all right, this ain't good. So I say, hey, David, what's wrong with your barbell sleeves are two different sizes? He made the face that I made earlier when I did goes over there, he checks it, goes and gets, you got your calipers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Went and got his calipers, all right, to confirm that something was wrong. Something is rotten in Denmark. Yes. So we discovered that. And that's not why I'm mad. I called you earlier this week and I said, hey, you still got that bench bar? You're like, yeah. Okay. So now I want you to tell the people, tell America and the UK, what did freaking Texas Power Bars do when you reached out to them and said, hey, you gave me a bar with two different size sleeves?
So initially, Texas Power Bar was very, very on top of my email. And we went back and forth a couple times, and then they absolutely ghosted me.
Ghosted you. Now, what were you asking them to do?
Tell me how to fix it.
You weren't even asking for a refund.
I'm not asking for a refund. And I can tell you that since then, I've bought more Texas Power bars.
So you're a continuing, ongoing customer.
I love
You
them.
weren't asking them for any money.
No.
You weren't asking for a refund. You weren't asking for another bar. You just like, hey, can you tell me how to fix this?
Right. That's it.
And they decided not. See what I'm talking about? See, this is the kind of stuff this is why I get mad. Because they don't have a problem when you want to give them money, but when you want them to help you make something right, not even asking for a refund or a replacement product, that's the part that really makes me mad. They ghost you. And I feel like, well, I have heard from people that Texas Power Bars is kind of coasting a little bit on their name and reputation. But to me, again, it goes back to what I said earlier about Bells of Steel and about the Mikolo thing. You have to treat people well, because if you don't treat them well, it will come back to bite you. Now, my little live stream podcast, maybe it's not on their radar. Well, it's definitely not on their radar. It may not matter to them with my just under 40,000 subscribers, but I promise you the word's going to get out if they keep on treating people like this, and it's going to be reflected in sales. I do not like that. Okay, so Home Gym Physique wants to know, he said, did they not send you out a replacement? So I can answer that. Well, he's shaking his head, but he wasn't even asking for a replacement. That's the point. He just like, tell me how to fix it. But even if they had said, oh, well, we'll just send you another one, that would have been fine too. You probably still would have tried to fix the other one.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, like the ghosting. Okay, but you're not hearing what I'm saying. He wasn't asking for a replacement. He asked them to tell him how to fix it. And since then, you figured out how to fix it.
Yeah, I just haven't yet.
Okay, so he's figured out how to fix it on his own. But the point is, they made the bar. They know what's wrong with it. All they had to do was tell him okay, here's what you got to do and be done with it. And that's that. Or if they don't feel comfortable from a legal standpoint, hey, well, maybe we don't want to tell you how to fix it, because then if something goes wrong, we're liable. Send him a new bar. Exactly. They just ignored him. That's why I'm mad. It doesn't make me mad that they had a product defect or a product that didn't function well or correctly, because I don't expect perfection from man-made things. Okay. That's not the world, the universe we live in. But what I do expect is that when a company is willing to take your money in exchange for goods or services, they make it right when they don't deliver on the implied promise of those goods and services that they made you before you gave them money. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that's horrible. That's horrible. So anyway, that's it. So that, man, is why I'm in the recliner of rage. You know what? It gets two. This deserves more than one recliner of rage.
It's the recliner of rage. It's the recliner of rage. 'Cause he's not happy.
All right. So anyway, the recliner of rage is sponsored by Freedom Fitness Equipment. They will not ghost you if you need help with any of your products, and you can just reach out to my guy Ashton at freedomfitnessequipment.com, or you can legitimately, this is not a drill, this is his actual phone number. You can actually call him at 980-216-4860. He will hook you up with the equipment you need, including a custom Garage Gym Life banner if you wish. But whatever, he'll give you what you need in order to build the best gym in town right there in your home. One more thing, if you're watching this video, if you're still here, you obviously love the content, but I don't want you to just watch. All right, check this out.
Hey, I don't want you to just watch this video. I need you to like, subscribe, and if you're already a subscriber, I want you to join our channel for 99 cents a month so you can help us improve YouTube for the home gym community. Okay, back to the video.
All right, that's it. I want you to do what that handsome fella just asked you to do. I want you to like. I want you to subscribe. If you're watching, hit like, hit subscribe, share the video with somebody else. And if you want to support the channel, just become a member. It's only 99 cents a month. Come on now. You spend It's like $12 a year. All right. You spend more than that on shoelaces or whatever, on frivolous things. You can do it. All right. So it is now 7:59. I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out. This way I don't forget again. Shout out to the Mountain Time Zone. Good morning to you guys. Thank you for getting up way too early with Garage. I appreciate you guys being here. I actually have a representative from the Mountain Time Zone waiting in the wings as we speak. He's lurking backstage. I see him. I can see him right now. And he is going to be joining me. That's my guy, Luis Patino, the Garage Gym coach. We're going to talk about garage gyms. We're going to talk about coaching. We're going to talk about his podcast. All right. We're going to talk about being in shape, all kinds of things. And he'll be joining us in a second here. So if you guys have any questions for Luis, go ahead and start putting those questions in the chat. If you have questions that you would like to, if you're watching on replay, go ahead and make sure that you drop those questions in the comments, and I'll get Luis to come back around and check them out. Yes, David.
Can I jump back in?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So actually I want to go back to the recliner of rage just for a second.
Right,
if I may recline for just a moment, please, sir.
You know what? Go ahead.
So on 11/13/2023, I had reached out to Texas Power Bar, and they got back to me immediately and said, "Hey, David, are you able to get on a call today about the bar? Thank you." So my response is, "I am. My phone number is blah, 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 blah,
I'll
blah,
confirm
blah,
that's
blah."
his actual phone number in that message.
And you can see what the response was. There was no call. There was no message.
He gave them his number.
There was
they
nothing.
Never answered him. So how about this? I'm a solutions person. If you know somebody at Texas Power Bar, tell them, go ahead, tell them we're dragging their name through the mud. That's fine. But let them know that they have an opportunity to make it right, that this happened. And if they reach out to me, I will go ahead and put them in touch with David. Or since he sent them his phone number, tell them to check their messages and just reach out to him. I don't even need to be involved, but let's try to make that right. Okay.
But we're also not dragging their name through the mud, because I respectfully love Texas Power Bar and I've ordered more. However, the way they did me is dirty.
I'm personally dragging the name through the mud.
All right, do it, man.
I'm doing it. Look, when one's mad, we're all mad, and we stay mad until the one's not mad, and maybe a month after, just in case.
We'll see.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
All right, man. All right. Let's see here. I noticed you didn't include the missing instructions in your Iron Bull strength rack review video. Did you get that sorted out with the company? Yes. They sent me the link to it. And what's ironic about it is that I emailed them. So they sent me the instructions, and I emailed them back after I looked at the instructions, and I said, we actually did one of the steps in a different order than they listed in the instructions. And I feel like the way that we did it was a little bit more user-friendly. And I'll tell you. So basically they tell you to put the weight horns on before putting the uprights together. And we put the uprights together before adding any sort of weight horns or extraneous attachments to it, because the idea is like, that's just less stuff. That first of all, that's less weight, and also that's less stuff just flopping around. Plus, it's easier to bolt the weight horns on if the entire rack is supporting itself than it would be to try to bolt them on while it's on the uprights are on the ground or the cross members. And it just worked out better to put the weight horns on. That was like one of the last things that we put on. Weight horns. Then we hung the landmine and the dip station, and we put the dip station on there so we could take a picture at the end. But yeah, the weight horns were like one of the last things we did. But yes, to answer your question, yes, we did get. I got the manual. It's like, of course, I was like, of course, it never fails. I got the manual after I had released the video. I was like, oh, this doesn't really help now, but it was kind of cool to go back and look at it. And it said that it was basically just an oversight that I should have gotten the manual with it. So I was like, all right. Like, as I said, I don't expect perfection from man-made things. I expect you to make it right. They made it right less than 5 days after I brought it up. So there you go. Okay, it is now 8:04. Luis, you ready? Yes. You ready? Thumbs up. All right, good. All right, good. All right, so let's go ahead and I want you guys to give him a warm welcome, bring him to the stage, my guy, Luis Patino. What's up, man? How you doing?
Good morning, man. I'm doing great. Can you hear me okay?
Hey, don't you be coming on here with your little melodious radio voice trying to out melodious me on my own show. Get
Stop.
backstage and try again. I'm Don't you
No, I
ever.
appreciate you having me here.
Gotta
Thank you.
restore order up here. Golly, what's going on? All right. Nah, man, I appreciate you taking some time out. You know, you can always tell. So Luis has a podcast. So he's got his podcast voice on today. All right. And I'm actually, you know, I'm jealous. I'm so full disclosure, this entire interview is just a shameless way to steal all of your podcast secrets from you so I can grow my empire.
Nah, man. My podcast, honestly, with my wife has been just like a little side hobby. And
Okay.
your podcast is like, man, I'm excited to be here because we just had our third child, and we live in Arizona. We have no family in Arizona, and we have not been able to podcast in months just because it's crazy. And
Oh,
like
because the baby, you don't have the. I got
he's
you.
yeah, we got the baby, and then anytime we wanted to podcast, we used to podcast like super late at night when we were doing it
Gosh,
before.
yeah, there's no more of
Um,
that.
yeah, yeah, or we'd get a babysitter. Man, babysitters are expensive nowadays. So like
Man,
we just
dude,
haven't been able to podcast for a while, and I like miss
you
it.
need
I
to reach
honestly
out to
miss
the Primo Network. Primo Prima.
yeah, I seriously the Tia network too. My
Hey,
sister
there you
lives,
go.
yeah. Yeah,
That's
my
it.
sister lives in
That's
Florida,
aunts and
so
that's cousins and aunts for those who don't understand.
yes.
Reach out to them. They're always down. It's a baby. You're like, oh yeah, I'll babysit. There you go. Reach up. Because
Yeah.
also like the cousins are always like, you know, they always got something that they want to like save up money for. You know, oh, I want to get this, or we got we got this coming up at the school. We're like, hey, look, it's going to cost. All you gotta do is babysit your cousin for a little bit. You know, we can work out something. I can be reasoned with.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, I
All
would,
right.
man. Yeah. So no, it's fun, and I've missed it. So I'm so glad that I'm here. I'm actually working on a solo podcast. I'll probably chat about it later, but no,
Okay.
podcasting is fun. I'm actually the opposite. Anytime I hear my voice on my podcast, I'm like, man, I need a podcast voice. And then you saying that to me, I'm like, oh, I appreciate it. No, I think you have a
Well, yeah.
podcast voice. I don't.
No, he can. Yeah, I heard how he came on. He said, "Hello." I'm like, hey,
Oh, that's
hey.
Hey, it's like 4:30 in the morning here, or I mean, I woke up like at 4:30 in the morning, get ready for this.
Yeah.
So it's the morning voice, it's not the podcast voice.
Dude, like I've heard like the best thing you can do to get a voice for radio is you need to smoke like unfiltered camels for several years so that because you need to have just enough gravelly in it, you know. So
Yeah.
it's just you know
Yeah.
like you don't need to sound like DMX, but you know just enough gravelly in there so you kind of get like that radio announce like you know like the guy that did the movie trailers for all those years. It's just a little gravelly. You know,
Yep.
drink too much coffee, smoke unfiltered cigarettes for too
Yeah.
long, and then drink like some herbal tea to kind of mellow it out, and you're in business.
Your businessman. Yeah.
I hope y'all wrote all those
Or-
down. Those some elite tips I just gave all of y'all. You trying to like get your get your podcast started. Man, let's jump into it. So you've been
Yeah.
coaching for a few years now. How have you seen the fitness industry change since you became a coach? And you don't coach just so obviously you have clients, you help people get in
Yeah.
shape, but then you also coach people who are coaches to help them set up like to coach clients themselves. So I'm saying like, so my question isn't about like just like what are you seeing in terms of your clients who are coming to you, not necessarily what they're asking you to help them do, although that could be part of your answer as well. but I'm just saying the industry in general. Like when you're looking at it from like a businessman, a
Mhm.
business owner standpoint, how have you seen the fitness industry change?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think in both. So I started coaching in 2017, and when I began coaching, I had no idea about like anything to do with the industry outside of working for a gym, and it wasn't until basically the whole shutdown that like opened my eyes to be independent, coaching, like through kind of blew up on TikTok, people that had their own private gym and doing training there. Um, and gyms that were big box but weren't like corporate, and they were all independent trainers that were still like open in the hidings. And then basically from there, like I started looking more into the independent training world. So I mean, like, to answer, like, when I began, certifications don't teach you anything about business when it comes to becoming a coach. Certifications just teach you
Heck
about
no.
they teach you nothing about it. They teach you just basically the anatomy and then their philosophies. Every certification has like their own specific philosophies that they like die by. So that's what you learn. And like if you only have one cert, you become like just this like die hard like fanatic of like their principles.
uh,
Definitely no business side. And I'm a
you
business
stop talking about the
minded.
starting strength people.
Huh?
I say you stop making fun of the starting strength people and the strong first people.
Yeah. Yeah. So the changes that I have seen within like the business side of it, or the like that from there, are just the what were, like the oh my gosh, I don't know like what the word is, like the dynamics of it. So what I
Okay.
mean by that is like there are so many more avenues now that people like coaches are taking, and they're becoming very like niche specific, especially if you're going
Okay.
into like the online world of training. What I'm learning right now, because I'm actually working with a group of people to learn the online side a little bit better, it has to be like super niche, and I'm actually not a big fan of that. I struggle with it. I just want to help everybody, and my tagline is "Move well, lift heavy." So when I was working with this company to understand basically the online side of training a little bit better, because I've never been huge into it, they were like, "You gotta like have this like really really specific niche,
Yeah, like
and
you got to
like only
niche
work
down.
with." Yeah, like you only got to like,
Yeah.
hey, you want to work with home gym owners, but like, what do you want to do with them? Like, how do you want to help them? And I was like, I just want to help them move well if Devin. Like, you're like, no, they got to be specific. You're a parent. You're tired. Help parents that are tired that are garage gym
Yeah.
owners. And then I was like, and anyway, so that's like the changes I think I've seen. It used to be like more broad. People just find a coach, and now it has to be like if you're on online space, you have to be really niche specific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you think that that's because having a goal, especially if you are training at home and you're like the only person there, maybe your spouse or something, right? So you don't have like the feedback of seeing other people training alongside you to kind of keep you motivated. So uh, I find that people in that situation, me included, function better if we have a specific goal. Like, hey, I want to get in shape, and whatever get in shape means at that moment. So maybe it
Mhm.
means I want to add muscle, I want to lose body fat, I want to be able to run faster, but I want to do it for this specific reason, right? And my reason could be different. Well, it definitely is different. Is
Yeah.
different from that person down the road's different reason, right? So then you're like, all right, there's the synergy because if you develop a thing where you're helping, so okay, move well, lift heavy, right? Okay, so I'm helping you move well and lift heavy so that you can make the football team. Okay, well then other kids who want to make the football team are going to want to come to me. But if you don't make it obvious that, you know, I coach people and help them make the football team, they're not necessarily going to know that that's what you do and that you can help
Yeah.
them, because they're going to say, oh man, I went by there, but all I saw was like this 70-year-old woman, and he had her, he had her lifting a chair or something, like, or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They, like, people, they start to it's not true, because a deadlift is a deadlift, right? A squat is a squat, but they look at it like, well, he can't help me because he only works with this kind of person. He doesn't work with it. So it's kind of like, do you think that's like they're trying to say, hey, look, you do it because you want to make sure the people you want to help know that you want to help them, and they don't automatically assume that you work with everybody except them? Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Yeah, for the online space of training, I think that's an absolute. For the in person, I don't think that's so much. For the in person sort of training, like, um, an in person trainer tends, unless they're a competitive trainer, meaning like they're a trainer that puts people on stage for physique competition, or they're putting people or athletes on stage for a powerlifting competition or a strongman competition. Most coaches, like, in person, will take on anybody that they're comfortable with, basically, and they're confident with.
Right.
So, like, in the in person, I don't think that's so much, because there's huge varieties. But in the online, interested, I'm not an expert at it. I'm actually learning more about it right now.
You
Because
hold
it's
on.
such
You
a
froze up for a second. You froze up for a
oh, my
second,
bad.
Luis. It's like your connection
Yeah.
kind of glitched on you. Um, so could you repeat that? You're saying, like, you said, I got everything up to where you said the in person, you kind of help just everybody, or
Yeah,
you help
so
everybody who's like a good fit. So go ahead from there.
yeah, so sorry, my connection's never great. I was trying to, like, clear out almost everything, and I told my wife, I was like, "We gotta make
It's
sure
all right.
everything in the house." I was like, "Everything in the
Turn
house
off the
needs to, like, be
refrigerator.
off."
What? Why are we turning off the refrigerator? Just turn it off anyway. Okay.
Well,
I got you.
everything connects to, like, Wi-Fi now. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyways, yeah, the in person, there's, like, more of a broad window. Like, an in-person coach tends to
Mm.
have more of a more of like a big audience that they're willing to coach,
Right.
as long as, again, they're comfortable and confident that they can help that individual. Then the online space, like, I'm becoming new to the online space. It's a I feel like it's a very heavy competitive market. There's so many online coaches, and I just think that niche it's important, so that it shows what's unique about you compared to the other hundreds of thousands of online coaches there. And again, like I
Yeah.
was saying, I'm still relatively new to the online space, just because, like, I'm very traditional. I'm traditional. Come over here, let me work with you in person. Let me like have a cool conversation with you, get to know you,
Right.
build a long-term relationship, because that's what you build with the client when you're working with them in person. When you work with them 2-3 times a week, when you work online, it's a little different. Like, you're hoping to hear from them on a Friday check-in. You're hoping that they're messaging you during the week, and
Right.
it's a little bit different. So I think that niche is, like, allows that person to have that motivation. See that they're like, okay, this is what I want to work with. This is the expert. People are working with this expert, and I want to be part of, like, that
Right.
expert's team. And then they get excited, but yeah, so
So I want to stay on this for a little bit, because it
yeah.
feels to me like part of the thing is, like, when you get like the online, like you said, there's like so many online coaches out there, right? And it feels like um as soon as somebody wins, they compete twice in powerlifting, now they're an online coach. They compete once in physique, now they're an online coach. They're and so on and so forth. Um
Mhm.
it's like, and I mean, I think we had some of the same thing. So, like, I got my first certification in 1996. And I remember there was still a little bit of a divide, because on the one hand, you had to look a certain way, right? You had like the trainers who looked the part, and they didn't really. It didn't really matter what certification they got. They looked the part. People were like, "Oh, I want you to train me." Then you had the other group of trainers who had to show up like you don't look the part, so you go the other way with tons of education, right? And I mean, I was fighting at the time, so I wasn't like big, but like if I had like my shirt off, people could tell, oh, okay, so like this guy works out, whatever, right? But I didn't walk around with my shirt off, so it's like I didn't. So I say, okay, well, I can't like just. I mean, I can't walk around punching stuff, and I can't walk around with my shirt off. So I went and got the certifications, right? And for me, it's like that was the divide back then, right? But now, so then you still the way that relates is we used to complain and say, okay, well, just because this person looks a certain way doesn't mean that they know how to get you to look like they look, right? And now I think that it's like, okay, is another kind of expression of that. Just because this person competed in this competition once or twice or even 7 times doesn't mean they know what to do to get you to be successful, to duplicate their success. You know what I mean? For example, my guy, shout out to my guy, Jack from 50 Barbell, right? Jack Canva from 50 Barbell. He says, if your powerlifting coach is always injured, you need a new powerlifting coach. Because he's like, well, yeah, you're pushing the envelope, but you should be able to build strength continuously. Obviously, there'll be plateaus or whatever, but you shouldn't get hurt in the process of getting stronger, because you should know how to move well and lift heavy without hurting yourself all the time. If something happens, it should be like rare. He'd say, look at all these people, like they compete and they're always injured. He said, how do they even have clients? Because if I don't know how to keep myself from getting hurt, how do I stop you from getting hurt? Especially if it's online. I'm not there to restrain you, right? I could write up anything. I can't fly to your, if I write up something, I'm not going to fly to your house and tell you and make sure you don't go off program, right? So
Right.
I think that's another aspect of it too, is like you're competing against people who kind of don't have like I don't know. I don't want to say that they're not established, but maybe there's nothing behind the picture. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think with that is like when you think of a personal trainer, and what you said it was like 96 when you first became a coach, when you got your cert. Is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was only like 3 years old back then.
Baby.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm only 30, so when you think of a personal trainer, like the idea of a personal trainer has always been tied to like the weight loss and
Right.
and physique, right? And when I say physique, not like obviously stage physique, but like that again, you look the part. So the connection of trainer traditionally, especially from like 80s and 90s parents, maybe not so much kid, but the parents, that's what they tie it into. So nowadays we're starting to recognize that a personal trainer is not just about the weight loss and the physique. It's really about cultivating your body to have longevity, and longevity can be totally different for each person. So because, and like I said, there's so many avenues or categories of training now. When I became a coach in 17, honestly, like my story is I worked out so much. I was working at a gym at the front desk, and like the manager of the personal training was like, hey, have you ever thought about it? And my mind was like, no, I've never thought about this. I just like working out so like a lot, and I'm just basically obsessed with it. And then from there I became a coach. But when I became a coach, I tied it into that same narrative. Like I wanted to look the part, and I did at that time. Like I was 20, 26, like really low body fat percentage, very vascular. And all I was doing my training was, oh, I got clients. I'm just gonna help them lose a ton of weight and grow muscle. And my training style and my reason truly has developed as I became a parent too. I'm recognizing like, yeah, I mean, I was able to do that because I was a freaking bachelor. I only had to worry about myself. My whole budget in my life was revolved around me. My sleep was like perfect. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and I
And
could
you
be in the
didn't
gym 4
appreciate
hours.
any of it. You didn't
Yeah,
appreciate
like
any of it either.
I could be in the gym 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening. Like it was no big deal. And you know, now looking back as a when I was a really young coach and I'd have parents as my clients, and I'd tell them like, oh yeah, you just have to be disciplined, you just have to do this, you have to stick to it. And as a parent,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, yeah, no, that's a totally different story. So
Yeah.
when it comes to the way I coach is I move well is the first priority. Making sure like all your movements are good, that they're strong, your joint health is great. Like let's reduce chronic back pain is it's like 90s one of like there's like a percentage, it's like 96% of Americans are going to always experience chronic back pain. And like
Yeah.
that's not a good thing at all. Like we 96% of Americans should not experience chronic back pain.
Yeah.
And this is like without like any injuries. This is not because they were like in a car accident or they got whiplash. This is just like they just experienced chronic back pain. And
Right.
that just comes down to weak joints, you know, not knowing how to develop their movement system. So move well first, and then you're gonna be surprised. Like once you move well, you're gonna be surprised what you can lift. That's where lift heavy comes in. So
Gotcha.
you got to know what you want. You got to know like what you're going to as a coach. Like you got to know like what's your foundation and what's your true belief. Like my belief in no longer is like have the best physique. I think it's awesome. I think it's sick having a great physique, but sustainably, like out of a huge group, I would take 100 parents, like sustainably, a perfect physique for 100 parents. Maybe I don't know, just guessing like less than 15% are going to be able to maintain it long term.
I mean, well, so here's the thing. You said, well, what's a perfect physique? Because to me, it's like, all right, so I'm 51. So for me, it's kind of like the bar gets lower and lower. You know, just realistically, it's like, okay, if I'm in my 70s and I look like I look right now, like I look all right for a 50-year-old. Okay. I'm still working towards my goal, getting back in shape, right? To where I want to be. But I look all right for a 50-year-old. If I look like this at 70, everybody like, man, you look great. If I look like this exact physique at 90, people are like, what's your secret? You know? So I
Yeah.
think that's an element of that too. It's like people were looking at, well, where are you? Because, and the reason I say that is because, you're going to assume that, like, okay, so in my 50s, most of the people I know who are in shape are your age, maybe in their 40s, right? Well, when I get to my 60s, the number of people who are my age who work out is going to shrink again. See what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So it's like
Yeah.
the people who you're around will affect also what your perception of what in shape is, because that's when you might be like, I don't actually have to do this because I'm already look better than everybody I know. You know what I mean? The flip side of
But
that
John,
is, go ahead.
oh no, I was gonna tell you like so there's that, but like if you say you're 50 and like what you look for you're 50, but like if you take the look away and then you substitute that for like what you can do at 50, that list is gonna be
Oh, yeah.
way stronger and better than what
Oh,
when
yeah.
like than the look. Because I've seen your page shows like what you do in your home gym and the lifts that you do. And like not every 50-year-old is lifting the way that you lift and be able to move the way you do. And then for as much of it too, like there's some that can only do that twice a week before they're like, oh yeah, I gotta take so many
Yeah.
aspirins or whatever or whatnot. Like you're doing this
Yeah.
daily.
Yeah, like the pain medication is their vitamin. I got it. I mean, yeah, but so but the other side of it too is I think that I'm a firm believer that form follows function. So, or like my brother and I always say, it's like your body looks like what you do with it. So, if you tend to move a lot, your body's going to look like you move a lot. If you tend to move fast, your body's gonna look like you move fast. You know what I mean? Like, okay, well, hey, what's that guy do? He probably is a sprinter. Well, guess what? You talk to him. Yeah, it turns out he does a lot of sprinting. You know what I mean? He looks like a sprinter. Um, and so I think that there's that too, because but the thing is, like, as you adjust your expectations based upon how old you are and the age of your peers and what they're into, you also start, I think, to like there's not as much ego lifting either. Then
Yeah.
you start to be, that's what I'm saying, is like you start to become more satisfied with um just looking strong. You know what I mean? Because I hear that from a lot of people who worked out when they were younger, and now they're like, hey, I don't need to lift that heavy weight anymore. I just want to look good. You know what I'm saying? So I think it depends on where you started and what your peer group is doing. I'm not denying. And I'm not saying that the person who says I don't have to move all that heavy weight, I don't, whatever. Like, that doesn't mean that they're not still lifting reasonably heavy, but it may mean, okay, well, now they're doing like sets of 10 with a reasonable amount of weight, as opposed to doing triples and doubles. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so they're still getting the benefits of the bone density, still getting the benefits of the building muscle, try to retain their muscle tissue, because that goes away as you get older. So I think that that's still there, but I just like, I think that there's a certain visual impact that you get. Like, imagine, okay, so let's go back to the 50-year-old thing, right? If I had right now 15% body fat and I go to a party with people your age and I take my shirt off and I got the lowest body fat percentage of all of them, right? They're gonna like be like, hey, put your shirt back on, you're making us look bad. Especially when they find out how old I am. You know what I'm saying? So there's
Yeah.
that too. Because I mean, there are people who like they don't believe I'm 50. Like, when they see me, they're like, oh, I can't believe you're 50 years old. Like, because in their mind, it's kind of like you remember Spider-Man? Not Tobey Maguire, the Tom Holland one, right? With Aunt May.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot the lady who played. I forgot who played Aunt May in Spider-Man, the latest Spider-Man.
I don't know her name, but believe it or not, that's my 3-year-old's favorite movie. We play No Way Home and Homecoming and all that. Like, we play
golly,
like
what is
daily
her
in my
name?
house.
Okay, somebody watching, put in the chat, what's the name of the woman, the actress who played Marissa Tomei? Too late, y'all took too long. Marissa Tomei. So Marissa Tomei, right? So the thing, they're like, okay, so Aunt May's in her 50s, right? So Marissa Tomei is legitimately in her 50s. Everybody saw her, they're like, whoa, why does Aunt May look so good? Because the impression of what 50 is was like this person who's fallen apart.
It's true.
You know what I'm saying? That's just what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that's changed about the fitness industry. You've got more people who are older and who are like committing to taking care of their bodies. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and actually going back to the Spider-Man thing, because I was saying that's like my 3-year-old's favorite movie.
Yeah.
My wife pointed it
kid.
out. She's like, every Spider-Man movie, like Aunt May just looks younger and younger from the first one to like the one we're at now. So it's true. It's true. Like, yeah, now that you think about it and reflect on that, it is so true. But like, I think you gotta put yourself in like scenarios. Like, how often, John, are you actually gonna be going to a party where you got young kids around you and you're gonna take your shirt off? Like, first of all, like, I'm sure you're gonna go to one party with kids around, like young kids, and you first be like, oh heck yeah, this is fun, and then 30 minutes later you're like, I just want to be home, or I just want to be in my gym.
Oh yeah, I didn't say I was there long.
No, I'm just saying, like you're gonna do it, and then you're gonna realize like it's just
Yeah.
it's not what's gonna fulfill you. And the aspect of
Well,
like having a physique, like when we think about like having a physique, you always think about like who in, like you said, in your circle are you. It's more like you think about doing it for like those around you. So if you're young, like in college, like you're doing it for the reason to like look good in college, maybe to go on more dates, to be like the one that's like,
yeah.
yeah, he's the one that works out, all this stuff. The older you get, you start losing that, and and you start doing things more for yourself. And I think it's like if you're a very competitive person, then I think that's sick. Like be competitive, have like see what your body can do in many different ways. It could be the physique, it could be the strength, it could be in the agility, it could be in the endurance. Like be competitive and like do extra, do more. That's sick. And like you said, your body will end up looking the part. I mean, there's the
Yeah.
nutritional side of it, and like that's like another whole deep dive because the
Oh
nutritional
yeah.
side will play a factor. But even without the nutritional side, like your body will show what you do, and if you do it
Right.
often, and it will show like if you do it in a competitive way or if you do it more on a like a conservative way. And you
Right.
know, find what's going to be sustainable for you. That's what I tell my clients, people that I chat with. Like do something that's sustainable, because one of my least favorite things that, and like I've learned it over the years, is how when I tell someone I'm a personal trainer. Oh, give me 1 second. I realized I didn't connect my computer to the wall. 1 sec.
Uh-oh. Computer's about to die. Computer's about to die.
We're back.
And we're back.
It was early. One thing like I noticed, like when I ever tell someone, yeah, I'm a coach, they want to tell me
Yeah.
their oh yeah, I just got into a workout routine and I'm starting to eat clean and like I'm doing this and I'm doing
Yeah.
that and like I've lost like 5 pounds and it's been nice and I'm hoping I keep it that way. And I'm like, well, I love that. I love that for you. But when you just think about it in that sense, it's gonna be a short-term thing of your life.
Right.
You don't talk to your dentist friend and be like, oh, you're a dentist? Oh yeah, man. I brushed my teeth today like 3 times and I made sure like I flossed and I did this. Like you don't do that because your correlation is a little different. Like people only look at like a personal trainer once again for the weight loss side or working out for the weight loss side. Look at it for the longevity side.
So here's a all right. So here's where I disagree with you. All right. Which isn't,
I like
necessarily
disagreeing.
bad.
Let's go.
Well, you're in a good place. I'm just kidding. So the reason I say that I disagree with you is because well, first of all, let's talk about the party thing. Um, you got to think about the fact that my oldest son is 3 years younger than you. Actually, his birthday is in December, so he's basically 2 years younger than you. Um, so if he's having, heck, I got a granddaughter, I got grandkids, right? So
Nice.
we could actually be at like their house. So it's a gathering, whatever. Like, oh well, it's a pool party. So it's not
Mm,
like, I don't go to like just parties or whatever. But if I'm at something like my kids, like the people there are pretty much going to be their age. You know what I'm saying? Um, and then I mean, like, I could. My wife has been talking to me about us going on a cruise or whatever. Well, there's going to be other people there. There's going to be a pool of some kind. So it's like you're still going to be in situations like I'm not like on my. First of all, I'm not working out to do that to have this effect, but I'm just saying that it will come up, right?
yeah.
There'll be situations where it'll be like obvious that I'm in better shape than the people around me, right? Like the first time that happened is when I got out of the Marine Corps, and I was working and then, so I left the gym. I got out of the Marine Corps. I left the gym, and I get a job at a Fortune 500 company, and that was the first time I'd been around that many out of shape people. So I stood out because I was like, I can't understand. I don't even understand I don't even understand y'all, right? So it's kind of like I had like serious culture shock. So, um, so there's that. But then the other side of it too is there's this idea, like, okay, well, getting older doesn't mean that you stop wanting to look good. And I mean, I'm married, so it's something like kind of like what LL Cool J said about his wife when everybody's like, why do you work out so hard? He said, well, I don't want my wife to be watching TV, see some guy and think that he's good looking and then turn her head, look at me like, oh, but look at what I'm stuck with, right? And I say, I get that. And I mean, there's a little bit, it was tongue in cheek, but it's also this like, yeah, it's like, to your example with like the college thing is like the way that things are in America is you spend all your effort trying to catch the person you want to be with. Well, then once they're with you, you're married. Now you're married for life, hopefully. And you gave your best self to the people before her or him. And so my wife and I have this thing now, like we're both, like, hey, we're working on getting in shape, basically reaching the standard that we've set for ourselves, right? And it's partly because I'm like, you deserve the person that you married your entire life. So like when she met me, I looked a certain way, right? And it's like, okay, well, you married that. So why should I make you, especially if it wasn't possible, let's say I had a car wreck or something and I couldn't help it, right? That's different. But I'm like, I don't want you to feel like, okay, well, it started out here and then there's a slow decline, and now you're just like, oh, no, you're fine the way you are. Like, I don't want to hear that. You know what I mean? That's horrible. Nobody wants to hear that. So there's that aspect of it too. It's like, I want to still be like, when I'm in my 70s, I want my wife to look at me and still be like, hey, you know what? This is a good looking dude. I'm glad I married this guy, he takes out the trash. You know what I mean? Hey, this is great. This is great. I hit the jackpot.
One trip.
You know what I mean? That's right. You dang right. But I mean, there's that. And then also, but then to your point about the performance thing, as I mentioned, I have grandkids. I like the fact that I can get on the floor with my granddaughter. And when, my grandson's coming, I want to be able to get on the floor with them, go out in the yard with them, play with them, and not have to be like, oh, no, grandpa's tired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in the pursuit of that, I'm going to end up looking a certain way. Now, I will say that there's certain things you see me doing a lot of things, but there are things you don't see me doing. Like you don't see me running because I can run, but just based upon injuries, I'll pay for that run for like a week. My joints will hurt for like if I run, let's say I can run probably up to drop of a hat. I can run a mile. I can probably run 2 miles. You get to 3 miles, like right now today, if I ran 3 miles or more, I'd probably pay for it. I could do it, but I would pay for it. And anything over 3 miles, I don't know if I could do it. You know what I mean? So from a simple survival standpoint, it's like, I don't know about that, but I know I can walk. And so that's what I use. That's like my main form of cardio now is just walking because I don't pay the price and I get the benefits. You know what I'm saying? So I think that you do have to modify as you get older.
Yeah, no,
But
John, and so like there's the always the little lag.
it's all right. It's all right.
No, you're good. So I totally agree with you in that sense. Like, and I believe that's the problem. We become comfortable in a relationship, and we downhill. And
Yeah.
We sometimes forget to reflect where were we in that stage of life when we were perfect, I guess you can say, or like at our best or like at our peak or whatever. And the stage of life really changes, and sometimes we forget also like the effort that it took for you to get there in that stage of life. Like that same amount of effort will totally feel different later on. So there's nothing wrong with wanting those things, and I'm 100% supportive of it, especially with like clients that want it. It's just about recognizing like what the cost of that will be, because the last thing the last thing I want for people is to, for example, you have like well, my wife and I have talked about the same thing about a cruise, and it's like, okay, we make a goal to go to a cruise, we get into shape, and we pay the price to look the best apart for that cruise, because we'll be telling people, well, we're garage gym coaches and we have our thing,
Yeah.
so we'd want to look the part for that cruise scenario, and
Right.
then like just meet that goal, come back out of it, change the routine, and then gradually, not like overnight, but like gradually over like maybe 6 months or 8 months, return back to before, and then be the people that talk, oh, remember when we looked so great for that cruise?
Oh,
Yeah, we
yeah.
should. And then you got to pay the price again. So it's like, I believe it's build a sustainable path that can get
Oh,
you
yeah, yeah.
there,
I agree with
and
that.
that you can hold it. So anyways, that's what I meant. But
No,
I'm
no, but
I'm all
I
about,
agree with that. I would not
yeah.
disagree with that at all. I think that that's true. It's like to me, and it even goes like with the athletic thing. It's like, I think like when my kids were wrestling, three of our four boys, well, actually, all of our four boys wrestled, but only three of them actually like pursued it long term. Um, and I remember like there was always like this pressure. People were like around them were like cutting weight, and I said, look, they didn't all listen to me, but I said, why don't you pick a weight where you feel and perform your best, and just stay there and master your technique, right? So while everybody else is like tired the day of the tournament because they've been cutting weight, you feel good because you got up, ate breakfast, and you're like, man, whatever, I'm good. You go weigh it in, you're like, whatever, I got energy, right? I said, you
Mhm.
win most of your matches in the first, maybe you'll either win your matches in the first period or you win in the third period because you've got energy to like be explosive, or you win in the third period because you've got endurance because you didn't go through all this stuff, right? With the weight cutting and the yo-yoing. And I think
Yeah.
that that's like a way to just be, instead of like people have like the yo-yo diets and stuff. Um, I think that when I was I spent a long time just kind of in shape, right? It's not like perfect shape. It's not horrible shape. I never got out of shape. I was just kind of you look at me, you're like, oh yeah, I can tell you work out, right? So then I had a car wreck, got out of, and I lost the habit. It's not that the car wreck didn't get me out of shape, is that I lost the habit of training and eating like somebody with some sense. And so
Mhm.
now I'm having to regain that, right? But the goal for me is to go back to, again, where do I perform the best? Where do I feel my best? You know what I mean? Like, um, and I think that if you do that, then you find like there's like a range. So like maybe towards, like the holidays are coming up. So maybe you say, okay, let's just, for example, for me, I think my ideal range is 190 to 200 pounds, right? So maybe the 200 pounds is around Thanksgiving because I know, hey, I'm not going to be that guy with Tupperware at Thanksgiving, right? So I'm just not gonna. I remember checking out your podcast where you were talking about you went on mission and people are offering you food and you're like, I'm not gonna be the guy with Tupperware. I'm like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like nobody, don't be that guy. So, but then I also know, okay, well, this season is over. It's time to go back. Let's trend back down to 190, and I don't want to go below 190 because that also would be bad. So I think that that's part of it too, like just finding the ideal range. Is this something that you work with your clients to say, hey, look, I want you to move well. I want you to be able to lift heavy. And so we're going to find that sweet spot for you. And then we're going to say, give or take 5 pounds, 10 pounds each way so you can live life. Is that, or what's the approach you take with your clients?
Yeah, so that's a body recomposition strategy basically. And yeah, like the clients that, so I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. So
Sure.
my in-person clientele, I've never, since becoming very independent coach and training here, I never coach a picture of a physique. I coach a feeling of the, like, what the body's gonna, how your body's gonna be feeling. So my clientele in person, what I found like more enjoyable, because I felt like it had longer term success for them, was coaching them on like how their body felt. I've had clients that were grandparents that had tons of back pain with playing with their kids, doing whatever in the house. Then they get to the point where like no more back pain, and we're talking about fun lifts like deadlifting over their body weight and squatting their body weight, and it was really cool. And maybe their physique didn't change a ton, but they realized like that they have less pain and they can do more, and that will last longer. And I love those clients because they don't like they don't they're not hard, they end the loop of being hard on themselves when they're like, oh, I didn't meet my weight, and I'm just like very stressed, this and that. Or there's a point sometimes when clients aren't progressing, that they actually stop communicating with the coach. And that's really hard. And it can change between like if the coach is very personable, that window will take longer to get. But if you have a coach that's very strict and routine, and we can call it the Tupperware coach, who's like, you know that your coach is perfect and super strict, when that client stops meeting progress, that communication ends, and then sessions get canceled, and it actually ends up like backtracking. And I never want that. So my normal clientele, what you're experiencing or what you're telling me, like, I don't take that route. Now, if I have a client that's had experience and they've trained and they say like, yeah, like I used to do this, and I kind of remember what the price is. I just have so much going on with my life. I don't know where to start, how to organize it. What's my next step? And I'm like, okay, let's do this. Like, this is what your next step is going to be. Like, let's reflect on what when you felt the best, what you're doing now, and then let's find that sweet spot. And I give a window between 4 to 6 months. I don't do like a 6-week transformation or like a 10-week transformation. Like, let's be realistic. Let's find a window. Let's do 4 to 6 months and finding that we got to like tweak some things around. The stress at home and at work are going to play a factor. Your sleep is going to play a factor. And all those different things. And it's very tailored to that individual in the sense of communication.
Do you ever have issues with clients because it's like 6 months with them getting discouraged because they don't see like the changes right away?
Actually,
Especially
I
the
haven't.
online client.
Yeah.
Especially like an online client.
Yeah. So online, like I said, I'm very new to the online space. My current online clients were actually in-person clients that have moved out of Arizona or were friends that like have reached out to me. And online is I never ended up liking online because of the communication isn't as strong, obviously, as in person. Like in person, I got an hour with you. I could, we talk about a lot of things during that hour. During online, it's like 10 checking questions, and if we can do a 15-minute call, we can.
Do they send you videos and stuff?
Yeah, like well, that's the goal. Sometimes some online clients, they don't. I'm like, come on, like this is like part of it. Like, I need you to send me a video. So I will say, I think online I've had that experience a little bit more than in person. So in person, I have a really high satisfaction rate with my clientele. Online, it is more difficult. I've had friends reach out, like one of my best friends, actually 2 of them, they've reached out, and I've done some coaching for them, and they haven't met their goals, and I'm like working with them, and like there's little communication, because then we have like normal our friendship call. Like I'm the type of like friend, like I'll just pick up the phone like and call my buddy. But then when I was their coach, like I call him like, oh man, like the first thing they'd say, oh dude, I know I didn't do my workout, etc. I'm like, dude, I'm not calling you to check in on you. I'm calling you as a coach. I'm calling you to just talk to you as a friend. So
it's like almost like being a pastor.
It is different.
It's almost like being a pastor. You're like, hey man, look, I'm just saying hi. Like, I know I wasn't in church. Like, hey, calm down. I just need to borrow some sugar. Calm down.
Yeah. So I will say, and this is like not like promotional or anything, but like online I'm learning that online training, in order for someone to actually put in the work and effort to see the results on it, they truly have to pay more than they do for in person, because the level of cost for being accountable to yourself, like you're the one that's going to walk yourself into that gym and do the routine that you're giving in an app, and then
Right.
you're the one that's gonna from Monday through Sunday are gonna make the choices of foods by yourself. You're not gonna see your coach in person. So if there's a small cost to online training, like a small price, the likelihood of falling off board is gonna be
Oh,
so
I
much
see what you're saying.
easier
Yeah, I see
than
what
if
you're
it
saying.
has a higher price. Because when it has a higher price, you're like, okay, I've been paying for this, and this is kind of like I need to do
Yeah.
this, and then you fulfill the check-ins because you're like, I
I don't
I
want to
need
waste my
to, and
money.
yeah, and
Yeah.
my end, when I was doing online training, or like kind of what I've had a little bit right before now, I was just charging really low just because I knew they were my clients in person and they moved out, and we still want to build that keep that relationship. But then going from a high cost of in person to a low cost of online, they weren't like as disciplined to it, and they didn't make the check-ins as important. And like I said, I'm sort of restructuring because I'm working with a marketing team that's teaching me the online space, and now I'm truly understanding why it is a little more expensive than in person
Right.
sometimes. So
So I put this question in there, and I was on the fence about whether we should even talk about it, but why not? So I learned about the
let's do it.
sodium potassium pump in like high school chemistry, and I was not good at high school chemistry, right? And I don't even, to the point where I don't even know why I remembered it. Okay. But then my wife and I went to the doctor, and he was going to try to put her on blood pressure medication, right? And so, well, you're married, so you understand, like when you tell your wife something, she's not necessarily receptive to it because, it's not like she doesn't trust me, but it's kind of like, all right, man, whatever.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, she knows my background. She knows that. She's like, yeah, whatever. Well, so I was like, but I also am a husband, so I'm not letting this go. So we go to the doctor, and he says, okay, he lists out all these medications, and I said, can I ask you a question? He said, yeah, and I said, and I brought up the sodium potassium pump. I said, can't she? You said her sodium is too high. Can't she increase her potassium intake and start being more active and not take the medication, or at least not take all of those medications? And he said to me, just to finish the story, he said, well, yeah. He said, but I can never get people to just do that. They must try to take a pill. I said, whoa. So that blew my mind. Right. So the reason I brought all that up is, what's one thing that you learned like years ago that you're like, whatever. And now you find like, oh man, that was so helpful. And like, it keeps on coming up. Like, what was like because there are people who are watching this who may be coaches or who may be trying to enter the fitness industry business or whatever. Like, what's like a life lesson that you never thought would be impactful, but ended up being one of those things you're like, man, I'm glad I learned this.
Yeah, John, I read that question and I was like, okay, I got to start thinking about this.
I mean, I can help you.
No,
I,
you're
I, I, I got
help
an
me out.
answer for you if you don't know it.
Oh, man.
Because
No,
I
so-
think that your technique and strategy for how to eat when you're out, when you're like, this is what I do when I have the plate or whatever, I go up to if they have a lot of food, like you had like your strategy, you know what I'm talking about? Where you're like,
yeah.
I thought I was like, that's a pretty good idea.
And I'm glad you listened to the podcast. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Now you got to start doing it
Yeah.
again. Yeah.
Anyways, I was saying, like, I read that question. I was like, man, I got to get my mind to work. I think there's definitely a lot. For sure, looking at your plate and seeing it in an awareness of like, where's the protein? Like, how does the protein look? Is it a good quantity versus carbs? Fats are a hard one because fats sometimes you don't see. I mean, it's what most
Right.
people are cooking with. Fats you can see are like the add-ons, like an avocado or like dairy,
Sure.
and all those things. But yeah, like that's I'm trying to even now I'm trying to think because that you refresh my memory because you just listened to it and I don't want to
So,
contradict myself.
oh, that's no. It's like you just. It wasn't even like that. You just said basically that what you do is like, okay, you said I go and I fill up my plate, right? But I fill it up, and you said like you fill it up with not necessarily salad, but like the plate's full, but there's a lot of stuff that's gonna fill you up, right? so so then you eat that first, and then if you could tell that, and you said, and I don't go back for seconds unless they offer seconds. So then if they offer seconds, he said, then I go back and I get a smaller plate,
Okay.
right? I get a smaller plate and I fill that up with, like the dessert, that's gonna like that won't even get on the plate yet. I go back and I fill that up with
Yeah.
like the protein or something like that. And you know what I mean? So it
The,
was basically like
so
a
you're talking about
strategy
this
for approaching it.
yeah, like okay, now I get you. That you're talking about the scenario of like when you're when you're at someone else's house and you're eating and like you have no control of the food. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah. And you don't hurt
okay.
their
All right.
feelings.
Yeah, so here's the thing, man. Like I'm from Venezuela. My background, like my ethnicity is Venezuela. It's South America. Like I freaking love food. I think food is such a huge part of culture, a huge part of like exchanging like feelings and emotions. Like, I mean, a Latin American house, like when you invite someone to eat, like you become proud. You're like, hey, this is like we've made this. This is culture. Like, come enjoy it. Like, people, Latin Americans put their heart to like their meals. So, I believe like it is something like that you should not refrain from experiencing that. So when
Right.
you're at someone else's house, whether or not Latin American, whatever they are,
Yeah.
like I believe like there's a cool experience when you don't bring your own Tupperware or like when you're like, hey,
Yeah.
this is great. I think thanks for making this, but I'm like on this diet that my coach put me in. It's super strict, and then you might hurt that person's feeling, or you might even lose out on a super cool, great like uh memory from the exchange.
Right.
So yeah, I believe with the holidays even coming up, like take on what you're given, but try to have a little control. If you can say, hey, I'll portion out my food, or if they're
Yeah.
like, hey, how much do you want? You say, hey, put a little bit more of like the meat or whatever, and then
Yeah.
fit what's more calorie dense, or um calorie dense, protein dense, all those different things. Nutrient dense, not calorie dense. Calorie
I
dense,
know what you
it's like
mean. Yeah,
something
yeah,
else.
yeah.
Yeah, nutrient dense. Fill it more nutrient dense. If you get off for a second, exactly like go back for the seconds. You just make it a smaller portion, and then after that,
Yeah.
enjoy the dessert. Like one thing I'm kind of learning. So I just started doing a course on Facebook on Facebook for all my clientele and all my past clientele. So I created a Facebook page, and I'm going through this whole nutrition course with them. And I do a call every 2 weeks, a live call and recorded. And one of the things, like as I've been creating that and I'm making this for everybody to be able to benefit, is like we do need to reduce, like, what's the word, like gluttony. Like if you see a dessert, like
Oh
you don't
yeah.
have to just like eat a ton. Oh, these were so great. Don't act like you've never had a chocolate chip cookie, or don't act like you've never had like some sort of dessert. Like just have a portion, enjoy it. If you truly like we're like, dang, this is so good, like I want a little more, go for the little more. And learning to have that self-control and kind of that awareness of how much you had. Those are the little things like that are going to make the biggest impact. Because the more you get put in that situation and the better control you have, and yeah, you might have like this cookie and you're like, man, this person makes the best cookies ever, meaning my wife makes the freaking best cookies ever. You just have a reasonable portion. No, don't act like you've never
Right.
ever eaten that before, and that's totally gonna help you. Like I promise you, like you're gonna enjoy the moment, because like enjoying the moment is gonna be more powerful than missing that out and just fully saying no.
Well, man, I think that's a good place to end it, man. Last question for me is, how can people check out what you got going on if they want to hire you as a coach for online training or whatever? Like, just tell them, like, or even just follow what you got going on social media. How can they reach out to you?
Yeah. No, so the Garage Gym Coach's social media is the easiest. John, I'm trying to become better on Instagram. I am terrible at the content creation. I'm terrible at like keeping updated posts and things like that. But I'm trying to become better, man. The Rancho community is so awesome, and it's so small and unique. Um, I I got several goals in my Instagram of being a little more consistent. I was telling you earlier, I love podcasting, and since having our third child has been tough, so uh my wife is like, you need to just do a podcast on your own. One where like I have the kids and you just go in the office or in the garage and you podcast and bring guests. So I'm actually working on a podcast called the Garage Gym Podcast, and I want to do a very similar, very similar take. I want to hear the stories of different garage gym owners, whether they're coaches or not coaches, whether they're veterans in or founders of the garage gym community like you are. And just chat, just have a good conversation. Like, how has the garage gym impacted your life, or the home gym, or the basement gym, whatever it is, the barn gym, just having your own gym. So I'm working on that. So if you go and follow me, you'll see I'm trying to knock this whole thing down of like a better video quality, better lights, better microphone. Because my old podcast was only recording. So those are the things I'm working on, and you can just follow that through Instagram. And if you want to coach and like learn how I can help you, in my link in my bio, there's a appointment, like a discovery call. Let's just do a discovery call and just see if there's a way for me to help you out and what you're wanting. And if you just need just a couple little tips, I'll give you a couple little tips. If you need the whole accountability course, guidance, all that, we can chat more about that. But that's what I got going on.
All right, my man. Well, dude, I appreciate it. And I'm definitely going to have you back on. I appreciate you being on here. All right.
Well, thank you so much. Really, thank you so much. This was great.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later, Luis.
Hey, cheers.
All right, man. Bye. All right, that was my guy, Luis Patino, the Garage Gym Coach. And we already have our final guest of the day backstage. I see her. Marissa is ready to go. She's champing at the bit. So before we bring her on, though, shout out to the West Coast. You're finally awake. Rest of the country's been waiting for you. Thank you for getting up way too early with Garage Gym Life. If you are just now tuning in, you are in for a treat, especially if you are someone who works from home, because I have got, that's right, an expert. She's going to come on and she's going to help you guys out with some tips to make you guys successful as we go into this holiday season. All right. So everybody, that's right, you too, way there in the back, everybody show your love for Marissa Roy Chong.
Hello.
Hey, what's up? How you doing?
Good. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Awesome.
Doing
Thanks for
good.
having me back.
She's like, man, it was kind of up in the air, but he asked me to come back. Yes. Nah. I enjoyed our conversation before. And so I knew that, like, when we spoke before, I told you my wife works from home.
Mhm.
And so and then I have a lot of friends who work from home. So the idea of working from home and having a home gym has been something that's always like kind of been like very present in my mind. And so I'm like, I think that what you do is a godsend to that population, because a lot of times I think that they get forgotten. It's
Yeah.
bad enough that, they get forgotten about the people, the other people they work with forget all about them,
Yeah.
like, because they don't come in the office, like they forget that they even work for the company
Yeah.
unless there's some function. And I think it's very easy for them to just kind of be in like a little rut, in like the little cave in the house.
Yeah.
And so I think what you're doing is great, because it helps them break out of that and reap the benefits of being able to work from home. So you can come on here to be honest with you, you're one of those people who can just be like, "Hey, John, can I come on? I got this I want to talk about." I'm like, "Hey, here's my calendar. Pick a date that works for you. Come on. I'm down. Always down.
Nice.
You got an
Okay.
open invite."
Noted.
So let's Good. Well, so just we've had some new subscribers since the last time you were on. So let's go ahead and start with just give them like a brief synopsis. This is your give them your elevator speech of who you are and what you do.
All righty. So, hi everybody. So my elevator pitch. Oh, that's a lot of pressure. 60 seconds. Okay. So I basically straight out of high school started personal training, got real sick of that in person. So I started my online business back in 2016, and slow and steady wins the race. Have been doing that for about 9 years now, and have just really found my passion in helping women who do exactly what I do, which is work from home. Maybe you're trapped in an 8 by 10 room in your office for 8 to 10 hours a day, and you just want to take care of your health, but you just feel like you have no boundaries between work and life, that it just falls to the wayside. So what we do is we help women with weight loss, with fat loss, with body transformation in that circumstance where work from home is kind of taken over, especially the post-COVID era, and helping you find freedom in that so that you can feel confident and you can actually, like you said, I think you said it best, really reap the benefits of working from home rather than it being a little bit more of a prison sentence.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, I 100% agree with that because like everybody when they start working from home is excited.
Yeah.
Oh, I
At
don't have to
first.
drive all the way anywhere anymore. This is great. I go downstairs in my pajamas, depending on what they do. Yeah, actually, and it's like, I think that over time, I mean, any job, the newness wears off and you kind of like, okay, now this is just where I work. But I also think that there's a certain element with the work from home thing where it's like, okay, once it becomes a burden, now what do you do? Because if you commute to a job, at least you can go home.
Yeah.
But when you work and live in the same place, I mean, I guess you go upstairs, but it's still like you're still at work,
Yeah.
So let's talk about, I don't want to forget this. So let's start out by talking about the one-on-one coaching opportunity that you're offering. So describe your ideal. I'm assuming this is within the framework of what you just described that you do.
Mhm.
So describe your ideal candidate. Maybe talk about the traits that successful past clients have had that let you know, okay, this is going to be a good fit, because you don't offer the one-on-one training all the time.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
right.
Okay, yeah. So I would say that the work from home lifestyle is kind of like a contributor to some of the symptoms that the women that we really thrive and work with their transformation is. So what I mean by that is we really tend to work with chronically stressed out, yo-yo dieting women. So women who kind of would identify with the fact that I've been on a weight loss journey my entire life, and I keep losing and gaining the same 5, 10, 15, 20, 50 pounds. And every single time that they lose it and gain it back, it gets stickier to lose. It gets harder to lose. And in fact, a lot of times when this happens, you actually put on more weight than when you originally lost because of how your metabolism downregulates. And so there's a lot of contributing factors to this sort of reverse progress that women tend to see over the years. Part of that is really prioritizing your career over yourself. That's where work from home comes in. But also just stress and a lack of being able to manage stress and put boundaries in their life. So that again is partially from work from home, but that can really impact your hormones, your cortisol levels, your actual metabolic rate. And then on top of that, just the behaviors and healthy habits that we just were never taught, because we were taught how to diet, but not how to actually eat healthy and live a healthy lifestyle, especially the millennial generation. We grew up on Weight Watchers. We grew up on watching our mom's diet. So it's really something that we have to unlearn and relearn how to actually fuel our bodies, how to eat healthy versus just dieting with low calories. So those are the women that we really tend to work the best with, because we're undoing a lot of those narratives, teaching them how to eat more and fuel their body, fuel their metabolism. And we just get their metabolism working with them rather than against them. And a lot of women, once they hit 30, once they hit 35, they think my metabolism is just going to slow down. It's all downhill from here. And it's actually so under your control when you take control of these variables. So that's what we're teaching these women to do. And it's the most empowering thing. So the work from home, like I said, it's like a symptom of the problem, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because, and this kind of goes with some of the stuff that I told you I wanted to talk about. There's like an entire portion of the year where, you know, we know that people need sunshine to thrive. Well, there's an entire part of the year where it's dark, or it's dark for more of the day, and then you're already inside your office. So unless, you know, like my wife's office doesn't have windows
Oh,
because of where it is. Yeah, so her office is actually it's right on the other side of the wall from our garage gym.
okay.
But what we did was we enclosed it so she could have, you know, like an actual office. So it doesn't connect to the outside walls. So there are no windows, right? Because it's one of those things like, oh, this is temporary. We'll get you an office, you know, we'll put an office here at the house, but somewhere else on the property, we're gonna build you a building or something like that.
Yeah.
And well, until we do that, she got no windows. So what she has to do is like basically open the door so that she can get some light in. But I know she's not like the only one who's like that. And then when she wants to work out, she knows that just as like one of like a success habit that she understands about herself, she's got to do it before work. Well, in the wintertime, it's dark. So
And
she's in a
cold.
dark garage. Yeah, she's in a dark, cold. I mean, she turned the heater on, but it's still a dark, cold garage, you know. And then she goes upstairs, you know, gets ready for work, comes back downstairs, goes into her windowless office, you know what I mean? And then when she's done working, because she works from home, a lot of times, you know, remote workers tend to work longer hours. So she comes out, now it's dark again, you
Yeah.
know? So I think when you're in that environment, your body starts to release chemicals that makes you want to reach for like the sugary snacks, things to help you stay alert and things like that, things that'll improve your mood. And I think that that's a big part of the symptom too, because of the problem too, because you've got like some emotional, basically you need to get outside, but your body doesn't know that. It just knows it needs something.
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier to just reach for a Kit Kat than it is to get up, stop working and go outside. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I completely understand what you're saying. So to that point though, part of the thing is like you can elevate your mood with movement. So one thing that my wife loves is her she's got this seated elliptical, and I can always tell when she's like getting into like work or something's going on or whatever, because I can hear her pedaling faster. It's hilarious. All right. Do you have any, like, from a mechanical standpoint, any either tech gadgets or just things in general that you think help would be good things for somebody to try if they're in that work from home situation and they're trying to make a change this year?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I will say the first thing is obviously, you're in Georgia, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're both a little bit in the South where it doesn't get too cold. So I know that we're speaking from a place of privilege here, but
And I don't want to apologize for it a bit, because everybody watching this knows what the map looks like. They could pick somewhere to live.
True. Very true. Especially if you work from home. So no excuses there. But
Heck yeah.
when it's cold outside, even though it's cold, nothing replaces getting outside. And maybe it's not first thing in the morning when it's ice cold, but as soon as the sun comes out, like 10 minutes can make all the difference. Beyond any gadget, I actually have a friend. This is completely anecdotal, but it's really cool. She ran an experiment last winter. She used to really struggle with seasonal depression and mood swings. And she asked herself, if I just spent 10 minutes outside every single day. She lives in Boston, by the way. So like very northeast, very cold.
Okay.
And she was like, if I just spend 10 minutes outside every single day, is that going to impact like how susceptible I am to seasonal depressive symptoms? So she did that last winter, and she self-reported that she usually gets sick of winter by like mid-December because it's already cold there at that point. And this past year, it took her till like March to be like, oh my gosh, like, can it just get warm again? So even just 10 minutes of sunshine can do wonders, and just going outside. And when you work from home, some of the hardest things to do is to just pull yourself away from the computer and take that 5 to 10 minute break, but you deserve it and it's worth it. So make sure to do that. But gadgets wise, absolutely. So I have a walking pad. I'm not standing on it right now. I typically in the mornings I'll sit because I'm feeling a little still waking up, a little lazy. And then in the afternoon when I have meetings, I will pop my desk up. So it's a sit to stand desk. So it's that's another gadget, I
So
guess
it's
you
like
could
right
say.
where you are right now?
Yeah. Yeah. So my desk has
Okay,
buttons
so
to my
this is where
left.
I'm about to ask you to use it, because I've been curious about what it looks like from the like. Okay, so if you're using that thing and
Okay.
like you're in a meeting or something, what does it look like if you're using it in a meeting?
Okay. Well, let me make the desk go up. You might hear noise, like background noise. You
Yeah,
can see
that's
that
fine.
it's
No, I
raising
mean,
up.
like literally, it's like people watching it. I'm sure I'm not the only person who's ever wondered. It's like
Yeah.
that's all well and good to say you got a walking desk, but am I going to look weird if I'm doing a Zoom call and I'm, getting after it?
Yeah, I basically just pull my chair out of the way there and then roll it under. So now I'm standing on it.
Okay.
And then I hit this button. And here we go. So now we're walking. Can you hear it or no?
No, I can't hear it at all.
Cool. So yeah, I basically look like I like sway like this a little bit. But I get a lot of questions like, do you not get out of breath? Do you not get tired? Do you not get dizzy? And I walk at 0.6
I'm about
miles
to
an
say
hour
you don't
on
have
this
to do a
thing.
Bataan death march. I mean, you're
Yeah.
just
Like I
yeah.
think people make the mistake of thinking they have to like treadmill walk on this
I
thing.
got you. Yeah,
But
it's
really it's
almost like you're
just to like,
fidgeting.
yeah, it's just to be like moving a little bit. And honestly, you do 1 or 2 hour meetings on this thing and you knock out like 10,000 steps.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's insane.
Cool. All right.
It's a huge
Thank
challenge.
you.
Well,
So
that
you weren't
and
you weren't prepared for that question. I know, so
I
I
mean,
appreciate you doing it.
I'm happy to stay walking if that helps. If that
Oh
helps
no,
the
that's
whole
fine.
brand.
Yeah. I'm completely fine with it, because it looks like that was like the thing, because I thought about it from my wife. We talked about it. Like I said, she's got the elliptical. And I was like,
Mhm.
do you even want one of these things? But I was like, well, how practical is it? Because she does a lot of training. So like she'll say, okay, so she might be on with like 2 or 3 people that she's training all day. And she
Mhm.
can't, look like she's, trying to break a
Yeah.
world record or whatever in the middle of training them. Um, so yeah, I actually do like that.
I have another gadget if you don't
Yeah.
mind.
No. Tell me
One
all
of
of them.
my coaches on my team, she recommends this, and it's called a happy light. And it's basically just like mimicking natural sunlight in the morning that you can just point towards your face at the beginning of the day, especially if you wake up before the sun comes out or you just don't go outside as much. The reason why I harped on going outside first is because that's the best thing you can do, and it's a little bit more effective, but it's a great substitute to get a happy light if you just, especially if you're prone to like seasonal depression and just the seasons changing really impacts you in that way. So that can help a lot too.
Okay, so you said the happy light. All right.
Mhm.
So this is where I'm gonna say, is this what you're talking about?
I actually don't have one myself, but yeah,
But
it's
you've seen it,
stuff
right?
like
Is
that.
that what it is?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It looks kind of like a Kindle. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Stop sharing right there. All right. Yeah, so if anybody's interested in that, I will put I'll just put the link to that in right here in the chat, and then I'll put it in the description for the video as well. I
Cool.
don't, I don't get paid anything for telling y'all about it, but
Yeah,
yeah,
me neither.
yeah,
But
but hey, that's why y'all come here.
yeah.
So all right, so let me say, oh, you also, by the way, apparently you got a fan. So David Huckleby,
I
who
know, I
is
remember him from last time.
I'm about to say he is not a woman who works he does work from home. All right, but
Good enough.
yeah. Um, So looking at what we were talking about when I said the home gym can be like an asset, right?
Mhm.
So that your home office, so you can reap the benefits of the home office. The thing is, I know tons of home gym owners who struggle, literally struggle to reach the goals that they set for themselves because they don't set themselves up for success anywhere except inside the gym. So they've got all the stuff they need inside the gym.
Mm.
You know, you go in their garage, their bedroom, their basement, their whatever, and they got everything in there. But outside the gym, they haven't set it up. And you talked about, I think you called it engineering your environment to support your
Yes.
goals. So talk about some things that we can do to set ourselves up for success before we ever get to the gym door.
That's great. Okay, so I would say honestly, especially if you're a morning person or morning training person, it's the night before. It's setting that up. And so I think you have to think about all the mental clutter that kind of gets in the way of either you prioritizing the gym or prioritizing your nutrition or just prioritizing your own time. And so a lot of times it's just the planning the night before that you can kind of mitigate a lot of that. So I think for me, it actually starts with when I end my workday. So whether that is 5 p.m., 6 p.m., or it's even sometimes I go to the gym. I'm an evening gym girly, but
Yeah.
sometimes I'll go to the gym and I'll come back and I'll do a little bit of extra work because I love what I do. So I don't put limits on that as long as my other needs are met. But whenever I am finishing my workday, I start with a brain dump. And so work from home, this is actually really critical because we just tend to bring work home with us because there is no like physical boundary from work to home. I would also recommend have a physical office and have that be the only place that you work in your home, because if you start bleeding it into the bedroom, the living room, the couch, the dining room, it's going to start bleeding into your life faster. But back to the end of the workday, you basically do what's called a brain dump, where you write out everything that has piled up throughout the course of the day. Because you know how it goes. You start your day with a couple of intentions of this is what I'm going to get done today. Then you get on meeting after meeting after meeting, and all of a sudden you have like 5 more items that you need to get done by the end of the week. And so
Yeah.
I dump it all out onto paper, and then I ask myself, okay, what's the new priority list, if there is one? Or can these things be pushed to another time, another date? And how do these fit into the greater things that I needed to get done this whole week? Because typically I'll organize things by, I need to get this done this week, and then I need to get these things done each day to accomplish that week goal. And so I'll reprioritize that and write out what the big items are for the following day before I close my computer, before I exit the office, because it's that planning that kind of allows me to clear my head and actually go into my evening a little bit more stress-free. Then in the evening, a couple of things that I do to set up for the next day is making sure that my clothes, whether it's work clothes or workout clothes, because right now I'm a little bit more business on the top, but sweats on the bottom.
There you go. There you go.
But that or gym clothes. Sometimes I'll just wear my gym clothes while I'm working because why not? Because I go to the gym right after. But for a lot of people, it's setting their gym clothes out before bed. And if it's cold outside and you've got the garage gym and you're going to have to wait for the heater to heat up in the morning, that might mean a couple of layers that you actually lay out.
Right.
And then from there, I'll also pack my breakfast. I work from home and I literally still prep my meals ahead of time for the next day. Because I think one of the things that causes us to skip our meals, not take a lunch break, is like, I don't have anything to eat. So like, I guess I'll just snack, or I guess I'll just wait till dinner when I can DoorDash or I can go out to eat.
Yeah.
When if we have the breakfast put in place, if we have the lunch ready to go, then you can just walk out of your office and take 10 minutes to eat versus thinking it has to be this whole hour and then you feel guilty for it. So there's just a lot of day before prep, honestly, that I think if you prioritize that, the rest of your day can kind of run on autopilot, but you'll still hit those metrics of I'm eating my breakfast, my lunch, my getting my workout in, all of those things.
So Homes and Physique said working from home is the dream job, in his
Yeah.
opinion anyway. And I agree with that, but I think also having seen my wife go through it. And also, like I said, I've got several of my fraternity brothers work from home, and several of my friends just work from home. And it's like the first thing that becomes the burden is they don't get to set their schedule, right? So that's
Mhm.
what I'm gonna like kind of segue to. So you describe this, and it sounds good, but you own the company.
Yeah.
So what about when someone who is in a situation where they work from home, but they don't get to set their hours? It, like in my wife's case, the reason why she works out before work is because it's inevitable. She'll say, okay, well, I'm going to go in here and walk on the treadmill for 10 minutes, literally 10 minutes.
Mhm.
That's when she'll get the phone call, or she'll get the email, or she'll get the IM, and they want to answer right away. And they're like,
Mm.
well, you're at home. It's not like you're going anywhere. So how come you didn't respond right away? And then, then she has to, then they'll have to hear like, oh, work from home people, they're not doing anything, they're lazy or whatever, which is definitely not true. They actually work more
A
because
lot
they're trying to
more.
fight that perception, right? So what
Mhm.
is your advice for people who don't set their own schedule, and,
That's really hard.
in terms of kind of like, uh, let's say put boundaries around their day?
Definitely. Well, I think every workplace is different. Thankfully, I know the one that I run is very flexible with this, where I actually don't designate the hours that my team works as long as they get their actual projects done. So they can work from midnight to 6 a.m. for all I care, as long as it gets done, like, and we communicate within a 24-hour basis with each other, I'm good. So, but I do understand there's a lot of like social pressure and honestly just a lot of toxic work environments that make you feel as if you have to be available 24/7 in order to be good or successful at your job. So I think in terms of setting boundaries, where I would focus if you don't have a as flexible or as understanding of a work environment, is separate the pressure that comes from your superiors from the pressure that comes from your peers, from the pressure that comes from yourself, because what you can control is the pressure that comes from yourself. What actually doesn't matter is the pressure that comes from your peers. And the only thing that you maybe can't control and should pay some attention to is the pressure that comes from your superiors, the people that are actually in charge of, hiring, firing you, making sure they know what you're paid, etc. You don't want to mess with that. And I think it's good to, be in their good graces. But I think a lot of times we take that and amplify it with the pressure that we put on ourselves to be available 24/7 and the pressure that our peers put on themselves, that then kind of translates into this work culture, like social culture that we embed ourselves in. And so I would really challenge anyone going through that to really just think to yourself, like, is there any amount of this that I can pull back on because it's me doing it to myself? Am I keeping my work apps on my phone because I feel like I can't miss a message when really no one's actually told me that I'm being
Yeah.
irresponsible? There's a lot of that happening in the work from home space. So I wouldn't say that if it wasn't a real issue. And there are situations where there are helicopter bosses and things that you can't control, where maybe that is your reality. But I would really challenge you to look at, is there any part of this that you're subscribing to the work culture, or you're doing this to yourself just because you haven't really thought to question it? And don't be
Right.
mad at yourself for it, but that's an opportunity where you can set the boundary. You can take the lunch break. In my opinion, take your damn email and your work apps off your phone. You don't need it. Just when you open your laptop, you're available when the laptop's open. When the laptop is closed, you're no longer available unless there's literally a company policy set by your boss that you have to have it on your phone. And I think that's kind of ridiculous. So,
Yeah.
anyways, those are my rambles there.
Well, so it's funny because one of the things I mentioned to my wife last week was, I was like, you know, why not? I said, instead of working late, why not stop, hard stop a certain time every day. So train them to have the expectation that they're not going to hear from you, you
Yeah.
know, after work hours, right? And part of the thing is she's salary. So she's like, well, I'm supposed to be available all the time. I'm like, I don't feel like that's true because if you reach out to some of the people who are above you who are salary, they're not going to answer the phone or whatever right away, even
Yeah.
though they're technically available, right? So I said, instead of working late, now you wake up groggy and irritable or whatever. Why
Mhm.
not say, okay, I'm done for the day? Even if you get the email, because that's the biggest thing is like she'll get an email or whatever. And I was like, just say, okay, I'm gonna wake up at 5 and I'll address it.
Yeah.
I'll wake up at 5, get my workout in, and then I'll address that email. Because the big thing I notice is most of the time, regardless of industry, if somebody's sending you an email with a question or asking you to follow up on something, the person they want you to follow up on it with isn't at work either.
Mhm.
So they're not, you could send the message off like, hey, I sent the message off. Now or you can tell your bosses, yeah, I got your message and I responded and I sent them an email. So they'll see it first thing in the morning when they get to work, which means you could have sent it in the morning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think that that's the toughest part though, because you want to be seen as responding immediately. And I'm like, that's not reasonable because eventually you're gonna burn out. And that's when it turns, again, like you said, it turns what could be a dream job, as I think Home Gym Physique was saying, it's a dream job. It turns that into a prison. Now your home is a prison. You know what I mean? And that's not a good thing. Garage
Yeah.
Gym Coach said boundaries saves lives. Yeah,
They do. They
because
really
just
do.
you just think about like the depression that you start to develop, and
Mhm.
you shouldn't be depressed about any aspect of your home, I don't believe.
Mhm.
All right. Um, if you guys are listening on the audio version, we're talking to Marissa Chong, and she is with Permanent Change Coaching. So you guys want to make sure that you subscribe to her on YouTube at Marissa Roy, and make sure that you are following her on Instagram because she is having a follow on Instagram at Marissa Roy Fitness because she's having a special opportunity where she's going to provide one-on-one coaching, and she doesn't do this all the time. So you want to make sure that you go to at Marissa Roy Fitness on Instagram and jump on that because you guys are hearing all the gems she's dropping. You could have that as your coach and kind of get your goals on track. So speaking of that,
Mhm.
kind of want to shift a little bit. Successful people. This was one of the questions I know I wrote down because I'm like, successful people who make a living based upon how their bodies look and perform
Mhm.
have chefs and nutritionists. One of the guys who plays for my favorite professional football team was talking to, they're like, they were interviewing him before the season. They're like, hey, you came back a little bit, you're performing better right now in camp. And he said, well, yeah, I kind of made some changes. Like, what changes? He said, I hired a chef. He said,
Mhm.
I hired a chef to, cook my meals. He said, because I know if I cook them myself, they're not going to be healthy. So I hired a chef. And he's not like, this is not an isolated case, right? It's like, if you're supposed to look a certain way, what's the first thing an actor does when they have to like get in shape for some role? They hire a
Mhm.
chef. Okay. Most just about every insurance plan has a provision to reward you for healthy eating, but most people don't take advantage of it. So, with that being said, we know that the people who get paid to look and perform a certain way have coaches to help them stay on track. Do you think that having a coach to help you with food choices is something that everybody should have? It's just like part of like that's our new normal, kind of like in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, everybody had a barber.
Mm.
Like you all had a barber or a hairstylist or whatever. Like we just accept that we have that person, right? And nowadays, we may not necessarily have a barber, but do you think that that's where we're moving as a society? Like, hey, we just need to have, or maybe not even just a nutrition coach, but maybe just a wellness coach. Do you think that that's where we're moving as a society?
I would say yes and no. So I would
Okay.
say where we're moving as a society is that like information services online are absolutely getting more popular. But when you really look and zoom out at the world and society, it's actually still a really small niche in comparison to the entire US population. So I would say we're growing, and I would say that it's getting more and more common. But I would actually say, do I want everybody to have that be the standard of their life? I would actually say no, because I think that it would benefit everyone for a temporary period of time. And there are some people who just operate better consistently with that accountability. Myself, as an example, I've been a coach for 9 years. I've had a coach for a majority of those 9 years, just because I want to keep walking the walk to the highest degree. But I would say, honestly, that's because I run the business and I walk the walk and I'm setting the example. I would say most people just need a coach for a temporary period of time. And that's kind of our job here at Permanent Change Coaching. And I tell this to all our clients when they sign up, like, I don't want you to stay here forever. I obviously would be
That's why I
sad.
asked you the question, is like, because I'm like, you guys coach people to not need you. And I was like, but shouldn't they have a coach all the time? But like, I'm interested to hear your perspective.
Well, because I think the value in coaching is the transference of knowledge and tools and skills. And so our job is to, I mean, as cliche as it is, we don't want to just give you the fish. We want to teach you how to fish and actually implement these things into your life so that you can then pass them along to your loved ones, your kids, the next generation. And I've just seen that to be true. Like, people are truly capable of permanent change when they make the shifts in their lifestyle, the shifts in their identity, and they really internalize the things that we teach. And I would honestly argue that having a coach for life is a crutch more than it is empowering. And those who can afford it, because it streamlines things and automates things for them, celebrities, actors, athletes, I think that that's necessary for those people because they have so much on their plate that it's one less thing to worry about. But I would say for the average Joe, like, it's one less thing to worry about when you've internalized it.
Got you. All right, so we got some comments in here. Every time you come on, we get a bunch of comments. And I'll say this too, by the way, that I hesitate to tell people to take the 9 o'clock hour, because typically the 9 o'clock hour is when people have started working. And so we get a lot less traffic.
Now.
But because you're here, we got people jumping in. So Home Gym Physique says, try working alongside idiots all day, people who are not nice and abusive bosses. That will depress you. Yeah, and I mean, so like, I go to work, my full-time job, I go there 3 days a week with a fourth, well, I work night shift. So it's 3 nights a week and then a rotating extra night every other week, right? And I'm only around people for like that first hour, well, the first 15 minutes, and then maybe the last hour or so. And that's more than enough for me. All right. I'm like, okay, I want to just get away from it. And I told my boss multiple times, if you guys ever decided to let me work from home, you wouldn't have to give me a raise that year, because just the savings and the commute and all that kind of stuff and the mental stress being gone would be huge. But I also get to see it, like with my wife, it's not always, the grass is not always greener. So I do get it. But yeah, I'm willing to try it. I'm willing to risk it.
Yeah. You know what I'll say to that comment too, because I mean, I get that is just a lot of people's realities, working alongside people you don't like, horrible bosses, just a negative environment. I think that's where it's like having your health and fitness journey as a priority is so important. Like, your work can't be everything to you, because if that's like where you're putting all your worth and all your energy, then you're definitely going to be really depressed. But if you have your health and fitness journey to look forward to, things outside of work, a great family life, a great home life, then it's just, okay, let me control what I can control. Like, that sucks. And like, that is what it is. But let me at least just focus on the areas of my life that are positive. And usually that can balance that out. So yeah, it's not fun. And it is a lot of people's reality, unfortunately, but hopefully that helps you shift your focus.
And that's so I actually got in the habit when I was working a day job, and I continued the habit. So even though I work at night, I still do it. It just is at a different time, of working out as soon as I wake up. From a performance standpoint, if I'm training for a competition or something like powerlifting meet, it's not ideal because of just how whatever. But from a sense of accomplishment standpoint, it's huge. Because no matter what else happens that day, so I'm I got like a little cheat, right? So I write my to-do list, like you were saying, but then I make sure that I put stuff on there that's easy to accomplish first.
Hmm.
So like the first 3 items on the list get done like bam, 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 bam. I'm like, so now I feel like I have a head start. I'm like, yeah, I've already accomplished 3 things, right? Well, one of those things is get up and work out. You know what I mean? I was like, get up, work out. And so I think that there's a huge emotional benefit to that because now you go to work feeling already like you did something good for yourself. And even if you have a bad day, hey, at least I did this other thing. You know, I accomplished something for myself that day.
Yeah.
Um, and so he says, Home Gym Physique says, I don't work from home, but that's why I love to get away from my toxic environment. And man, I hope it works out for you, dude.
Yeah.
David, on the other hand, says the movers are here. They have a pool house. He says she can use our pool house to work. There are lots of windows.
Nice.
I will mention that to her. And he mentioned, so he's talking about what we were talking about earlier, seasonal depression disorder. Yeah. Which is a real thing. People didn't like, I think they call it SAD.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think that's a real thing. So only a couple more from me. You work with clients in stages.
Hmm.
So they're not necessarily tracking macros from day one.
Hmm.
So talk about the progression you use with your clients to get them from, hey, day one, I'm here, I need help, to being able to make good food choices on their own and balance their activity with their intake.
Yeah, wonderful question. I actually was answering this for a couple of other coaches the other day. But basically, yeah, I think a big mistake that a lot of fitness professionals make is kind of throwing their clients into the deep end of, well, this is what I do to manage my nutrition. I track my macros. And these clients are like, what the heck are all these numbers? So basically, what we typically tend to start with is some kind of just accountability logging. So for some people, that's like using the tracking app to log everything that they eat without any targets. And just, I emphasize, like, let's build the
So
habit
hold on, let
of.
me stop you right there. So you said the tracking app. So is this an app that you guys have, or do you use something like Carbon or MyFitnessPal or just
So we
anything
have a
else?
couple options. So we have an innate app that's custom for our clients, and it's got its like own version of MyFitnessPal in it.
Okay,
But we also, it syncs with MyFitnessPal if they're just like already using that.
gotcha.
So
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
either
I
of
was just
those.
curious.
Yeah, same idea though. Like track everything to see where you're at. Because for
Gotcha.
most people, we haven't really even done that. It's just I'm eating healthy and I'm not seeing results. Well, let's see what that really looks like. And the emphasis there is on observation rather than judgment, because typically we tend to jump real fast to judging ourselves for all of our food choices because we're like, well, now I have this coach watching, so I definitely like look horrible to this person. It's really, I've seen so many things. It's really not that bad. So log everything and like honestly for like a week at least, and just start to get an idea of how do I log these foods into my phone and how do I account for serving sizes and what is in my food. And you really just learn a lot from that alone. No targets, no calorie goal, no macros, nothing like that. Just paying attention. And then the first thing that I'll do is I will look through those logs and look at the macronutrient totals, the food choices, and I just find the lowest hanging fruit. Typically, for most women, most people actually, the lowest hanging fruit is protein and fibrous foods. So, fruits, vegetables, lean proteins just are not as present as we'd like them to be. And typically, our diets nowadays are just really populated in highly processed and overly palatable foods. So, the first thing that I'll typically do is we're still not setting a calorie goal, we're still not setting macros. It's just let's get 2 servings of, 25 to 35 grams of protein, a palm size serving in 2 meals per day or 3 meals per day or whatever, like one step above what this person was doing is with protein, with vegetables, whatever the low hanging fruit was. And in this initial period too, we're often layering in some sort of movement. So I actually have a client who she has about 100 pounds to lose. And I could tell she was kind of intimidated on our startup call because she was like, I feel like I hired this fitness coach and she does all these crazy CrossFit workouts and she's going to make me do this crazy shit. And so I basically asked her, I'm like, all right, so like, what's your setup look like? She was like, actually, I just got a walking pad. I'm like, okay, cool. Doing any training right now? No, nothing. So I basically asked her, how many meetings do you have like on a regular basis? She was like, so many, like at least 3 hours a day. And I was like, all right, do you think you could just do 1 hour on the walking pad a day then? And she was like, yeah. I was like, all right, that's our movement. That's it.
Nice.
And that plus the changes that I just mentioned, like she's down like 5 pounds in the first couple weeks. So
Nice.
it's really, it just doesn't have to be that complicated. And then we're going to start layering in mobility and strength training and all of that. And then from those low hanging fruit steps, then we get into understanding, okay, what does a reasonable protein goal look like? So then we'll just aim to track everything and hit a protein goal.
Okay.
Then after that, and this is like weeks at a time. So like, it's really like these small changes can make drastic shifts to the way that you're eating. And so I think it's just people tend to underestimate how big of a difference that can make and why they don't need to jump straight into tracking macros. But eventually we get to there's probably a calorie range that we're trying to hit and a protein goal. And then we're focusing on that and making sure to get enough fiber. And then when the time comes and we need to dial in further to carbs, fat, protein, because we're actually stalled out and we're plateaued unless we do that, then I'll go ahead and do that. But typically it's a long time before that bridge is crossed.
Nice. All right. So only got two more. This has been so I gave you the list of questions ahead of time, specifically so you'd be able to consider this question.
Hmm.
All right. Because I know if I had just asked you, you'd have been like, oh. So you've had prep time.
Mm-hmm.
What's been the best tasting food that you've been able to enjoy guilt-free because of how you treat your body with respect all year long?
So I actually saw this question and I didn't really have to think about it that much because
Oh,
my
wow.
gut instinct answer was everything. Like all of the food that I like, I'm able to eat because 95% of the time I treat my body with the utmost respect and I always listen to what my plans are and nourishing my body appropriately. But if I had to give you a specific, I would say the foods that gave me the most guilt, especially in like my darker seasons, would be like my favorite cultural food. So Korean food, I'm half Korean. And that was probably one where I just felt like anytime I ate, I always overate. I always felt guilty. I always ate to the point of almost feeling sick. And it's really been freeing to be able to go get Korean food and leave comfortably full and
Nice.
just enjoy it. So I would say short answer, everything, because I think I truly do have that like level of like 90-10 to my diet, but that's one special one in my heart.
So, okay, now that leads to another question. So because this is something I've thought about quite a bit. So I'm a West African descent. Well,
Mhm.
I was born in West Africa to West African parents. I was, West African till I became an American citizen. West African food, if you you eat it, and it's like every time I've had like to go on a diet, especially if I was making weight for something, I've had to give up West African food
Mhm.
because it's so very nutrient dense, right?
Mhm.
But the thing that gets me is I'm like, okay, hold up. I remember I was born there. I remember being there. I mean, I went there every year until I was like 16. Everybody there's eating what I'm eating now. Why are they all in, they may not be like in good shape in terms of like muscle, but they're not like overweight.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what's going on with that? Ethiopian food. My wife and I love Ethiopian food. If you've never had it, you're in Georgia, right?
I'm in North Carolina.
North Carolina. Okay. So we'll find you one that's near you. But like Ethiopian food is amazing, right? But you eat it and you just like, if I eat this too much, I'm gonna be overweight. Well, everybody I know, I grew up, I had Ethiopian neighbors, and they were all slender, and they said that everybody back in Ethiopia was slender, and they were all eating that all the time.
Mhm.
So the thing that gets me is like, what's going on with it over here? Like, like what you were saying about the Korean food. I'm like, Koreans are not like, as a population, like, you don't think like Koreans like, oh, they're super overweight over there. No, it's
Yeah,
like, so
no.
what is going on? Like, if I, you know what I mean? Like, have you ever
Mhm.
thought about that?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think it really comes down to relationship with food, habituation, and lifestyle. So, and I mean that less from like a they move all the time sort of lifestyle, but habituation, meaning like in Korea, the main thing that they eat is Korean food. So it's not new to them. They're not like, oh my gosh, like I can't wait to have Korean barbecue.
Oh,
They're
they're
like,
not gorging themselves on it. I got you.
yeah. So they're kind of like, they're not sick of it, but like it's like our what's the American version? Like burgers and fries, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
So they're just used to it. And so they don't need to overindulge on it every time they have it because it's not a novelty. So the habituation, I think,
Mm,
plays a role. I would say relationship with food in the US specifically for a lot of people is really effed up. So
well,
like,
over here, food is like your friend.
yeah, food
Food's
is
there
like
for you when you need them.
it's an
Yeah.
emotional coping mechanism.
Yeah.
It's and you know, to an extent, that's not necessarily always a bad thing, but I think it goes over the line most of the time for most people of like we're using it for things other than quenching hunger.
Yeah.
And we're doing that very, very often. And the culture of the portion sizes that we have here is pretty insane too. So lifestyle meaning portion sizes and how do we speak about food to our daughters, our sons, our loved ones, like what's the culture around food? That's kind of what I mean by lifestyle. Um, for example, I always hear people make analogies to the US versus Europe and France and how the portion sizes are so small. And the lifestyle is you go on these 3-hour lunch breaks and you eat super slowly and you're just enjoying your time. So the lifestyle is you're eating mindfully with your food. Food is an experience to be enjoyed, not something to scarf down 10 minutes between meetings, right?
Right.
So I think that plays a really big role in like the culture we have around food and how we just don't slow down and how we treat it and how we think about it plays a really big role there. So it's a lot of things, I think.
Okay. Well, as always, I had a good time talking to you.
Same.
I enjoyed having you on here. I'm like trying to figure out some way to scam you into coming on here all the time and doing like the work from home segment of the show all the time. But I do want people to be able to reach out to you, especially specifically if they want to take advantage of this thing. I'm pulling it up right now so everybody can see it before so while you do this, so because I know that this is on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
um, so if someone wants to take advantage, first of all, you coach women. Okay, let's
Yeah.
start there. So, sorry, fellas, no, all right, but if someone wants to recommend you to someone, or if a woman's watching this and she wants to take advantage of it, how can people reach out to you for information? Go ahead and give them that.
Honestly, right there, Marissa Roy Fitness on Instagram. Let's keep it simple. Find that page, follow, and message me that keyword ready or coaching or any word that's like, hey, if you just want to send me a message of like, I listened to you on this podcast and I'm interested in this coaching thing. That's really as easy as it gets. So we try to keep it real simple and straightforward, like you see on the page there. So yeah, just any sort of Instagram DM is probably the easiest way to reach me.
Awesome, awesome. So once again, thank you so much for being here. You guys can see the stuff going along the bottom. I'm going to have all the links for to contact Marissa in the description for this video. If you are listening to the audio version on Podbean, I'm going to put the links in the description there as well.
Cool.
And also, please, one of those links will be her YouTube. I want you guys to go to YouTube and subscribe to Marissa on YouTube and help her channel grow, because the bigger her platform, the more people that she can help. And so I want you guys to definitely do that. Support it. Let her know that it's worth her while to come on the show. Thank you so much, Marissa, for being here. And I hope you have an awesome weekend.
Thank you. You too. I appreciate you having me back on
Yes.
anytime.
Thank you so much. All right. Later.
Take care.
Bye. All right. So that was Marissa Chong from Permanent Change Coaching. She's always a crowd favorite. She comes on here. Next week, we're going to have another awesome show. We're going to have Ashley Romiak is going to be here. And you guys remember a while back, I asked about palm coolers and whether that was a scam or not. I said, we need to find a scientist to talk about that. Well, I reached out to Ashley. Ashley is an exercise scientist. She teaches exercise science. She has a ton more experience in that field than I do. And so I asked her to come back and talk about that, plus other stuff. So you guys get your questions ready and be here next week, same time. Also, make sure you're following at Garage Gym Life on Threads, because that's where you're going to get the updates about what's going on with the show. Plus, if you go on Threads right now, follow at Garage Gym Life. You go on Threads right now, you will see the picture, and I will show you my current setup where I am in David's gym before we get ready to set up for the strongman competition tomorrow. So once again, I appreciate all you guys for being here. Shout out to you because you made this show possible as always. And I'll talk to you guys next week when we get up way too early once again. Peace out.